A few weeks, then summer will be over. A play for radio by Colin Shaw.
David. Coming! Thomas. I wondered who it was. Something the matter?
No, bless you. Could I come in for a moment?
Yes, if you want to.
Now, I'm not disturbing you, am I?
No. Come in, I'll shut the door.
Oh, thank you. Where's Mr. Lucy?
He had to go out.
It's warmer down here.
The evenings are cooler. I suppose you heard the row.
Oh, I did. But you mustn't upset yourself. I know. These things happen.
But why, Thomas? Why so often lately?
Now, that I can't tell you.
We both hate it, and yet we can't help it. Row, row, row. Must be pretty frightful for you, living on top of us.
You mustn't upset yourself. I had some news.
Oh.
Yes, they've agreed to take me.
Thomas!
My daughter wrote this afternoon by the second post. She says they'll have me.
Well, that's good news, isn't it?
Oh, I ought to think so.
Well, they look after you. You'll be much more comfortable.
They're giving me my own room with my own furniture.
When do they want you to go?
Tomorrow morning, about 8:45. Mary said it's better to get it over quickly. Stop me having time to think about it. She's right, really. Jane, would you do me one favour?
Of course, Thomas. What is it?
Be here in the morning when I go. See me off, will you?
Certainly, if you'd like me to.
Yeah. I've got so used to being on my own, pleasing myself.
Look, I'll make some coffee.
No, I won't stay. Thank you. Now, I just wanted you to know. I'll go back now. Just a few more things to put away, and then I'll go to bed.
Well, if there's anything we can do...
No, there's nothing. I've been round to the landlord's office, so that's out of the way. Hey, is that him?
No, I shouldn't think so.
Hello, Jane. Can I come in?
Yes,
be off,
I
I
suppose
Oh,
so.
I'm sorry. I didn't know you had a visitor.
That's all right. Thomas was about to leave. Edward, this is Mr. Carville, who has the flat upstairs.
How do you do?
Good evening. I must go now, Jane.
All right.
Good night.
Good night.
I'll be here in the morning.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, Thomas.
What did the old man want?
He came to say he was leaving. He's going to live with his daughter.
Well, I don't suppose you'll miss him.
No, I don't suppose we will. It's rather terrible, really. I've seen him every day for more than 6 months, and I don't suppose I will miss him.
How long will David be?
I don't know. Perhaps half an hour, perhaps an hour.
I hoped he might be out. I wanted to tell you something. They've made me a director.
Congratulations. You must be very pleased.
And you?
I never had any doubts about you.
Yes, they're sending me to Canada for 6 months. It's all beginning to move for me, Jane. I want you to come with me.
To Canada?
I'm not leaving for another 3 weeks.
Is that why you came here tonight? To ask me that?
Look, in 3 weeks you can settle everything here.
Are you saying that leaving David is just settling everything?
Well, it has to happen sometime. The longer you leave it, the harder it will be for both of you. David will grow more dependent on you.
And I on him?
I don't doubt that. Harder for you, harder for him.
Why should you assume we want to break it off?
Do you need me to tell you?
Yes. Yes, I'd like you to tell me.
Because he's a rising young executive who came to a dead stop 5 years ago. Because staying with him means a lifetime of flats like this one. Because he's got a wife already. And because you're 24 and he's 37.
You'd better go.
What did you have the row about tonight?
Row?
You've been crying.
Wasn't important.
But it wasn't the first one, was it?
No.
Think over what I said, Jane. I still want an answer.
You haven't once talked of loving me.
That hasn't changed. Well, good night. And don't bother to see me out.
Edward, there's no point in coming back.
I shall, though. Good night.
Damn.
Jane, where's the sugar? Oh, for God's sake, wake up. Where's the sugar?
What?
I can't find the sugar.
Your dress.
Yes. Where is the sugar?
What's the time?
It's after 8.
It isn't.
Oh, the sugar. What have you done with it?
I don't know. David, last night we promised we weren't going to have another row.
Yes, I remember.
It's terribly important, David. I was very frightened last night after you'd gone.
I know.
Oh, look, you haven't shaved. Give me my dressing gown. I'll look for the sugar while you go and shave.
All right, here.
Thank you.
You don't have to get up.
Oh, no, I must. Besides, they're sending for Thomas today. I said I'd stay.
Who's coming?
His daughter and her husband. Where are my slippers?
Here.
Oh, thanks. Go on, go and shave.
Okay. I plugged in the toaster. It's probably very hot by now.
Oh, I'm off toast. Diet for me. One of the Bulgarian dry biscuit things. Philippa says they're marvellous. She says she's lost pounds.
Every time I see her, they seem to have crept back again.
Come and shave in the kitchen, then I can talk to you. How many pieces of toast do you want?
Oh, wait a minute while I find a towel. What?
I said, how many pieces of toast do you want?
Oh, 2, please.
You're terribly bright in the mornings, darling. I don't know how you manage it. Springing out of bed.
I'm past the age of practically everything else.
Nonsense. You're quite remarkably good for your age.
Ta-da!
When interviewed in the fashionable kitchen-cum-bathroom of his Bayswater home, he told our reporter he put it all down to... What do you put it all down to?
An even temper.
I know you have a lot of good qualities, darling, but I wouldn't put an even temper among them.
What you doing today?
Here I am, triumphant product of education, emancipated from almost everything, and I don't know what my day's work's going to be.
I'm not sure female emancipation wasn't a big step backwards.
No, and where would you be without female emancipation? Not going to bed with me every night for 6 months.
I doubt whether Mrs. Pankhurst would want to claim that among the fruits of victory. Did you find the sugar?
It was in the tin marked flour.
Oh, I might have known. Oh, by the way, if it isn't too sharp a reminder of domesticity, I have some socks that need mending.
I'll do them at the weekend.
Darling, I can do the socks myself before the weekend. I need them.
Nobody's going to notice.
I'm going to notice.
No, I can't mend socks. I'm sure that secretary of yours, Mr. Cartwheel...
Hawthorne.
I'm sure she's absolutely marvellous at socks. She has a marvellous at socks kind of voice. I rang the other day in a temper. You weren't there. And Miss Cartwheel said in a voice like the Albert Hall organ, "He's on a computer course."
Coffee, please.
Sorry. Do you know, Features editor was going to make a pass at me yesterday. You know, the tall one you met at the office party, with a chip and the MC.
What makes you so sure that chap was going to make a pass at you?
The way he spoke, at the back of his throat, you know, and the way he looked at me.
Oh, yeah.
It's funny. I suppose people know about you and me, and that makes me somehow fair game.
I see.
Oh, it isn't like that at all, darling. Really, it isn't.
All right. No, it isn't.
Now you're being understanding.
Well, I thought there was something to be understanding about. Isn't that what you wanted?
No. Yes.
There.
Makes you sound old.
Well, I'm older.
You don't have to flay yourself with it. David, I sometimes wonder, it's a kind of panic. Why did you want to come and live with me?
Do you want to know the truth?
Yes, I do. And really the truth. Not just the things you taught me onto my back with.
They're true.
They're nice, anyway. David, aren't you going to tell me the truth?
I shall be late. Oh, there's a paper. You going to fetch it, or shall I?
No, I'll go. Paper's here, but not the post. Do you want it?
No, you read it to me.
Sagittarians may vary their habits with advantage. And those born under Leo would do well to avoid romantic entanglements.
What's that?
Well, that's a little late in the day.
Oh, there's a button off this shirt.
Where?
Yeah.
Well, won't show under your tie.
What I admire about you is your intense practicality.
The fashionable, pragmatic touch.
Writes a friend. You should have told me Edward was here last night.
Edward?
I'd like to know.
Why? Simple curiosity.
Simple curiosity.
Untinged.
Polished. He was leaving as I was coming back.
You didn't come in until hours after Edward left.
Well, I went away again. I went and had a drink. I made up my mind not to mention it.
Why'd you mention it now, then?
Because I wanted to know what he was doing in my flat.
Our
All right,
flat?
our flat. I don't see that it matters.
Oh, but it does. If it didn't, I shouldn't be paying half the rent. That was the arrangement, if you remember.
What did he want?
He's got a new job. He came to tell me they've made him a director.
Whoopee.
I'm sending him abroad.
Was that all he came for?
Well, congratulations. He could have sent himself a telegram.
He wanted me to go with him.
Are you?
Damn you.
Damn your ambitious friend, too.
He took me to a May ball once. About 4 a.m. We went to his digs. Object vaguely defined. But when we got there, we found his landlady up getting her husband up to work. So the 4 of us sat in the kitchen drinking tea. Edward in hard tails and me in a long, slinky blue dress. Edward's landlady was in a dressing gown plus curlers, and her husband was in well-pressed overalls, as if he was going on parade. When he'd finished his breakfast, he looked at the 2 of us and said, "You've got all the time in the world. It's all right for you." Didn't say it resentfully, just a statement.
And then?
Oh, then he went off to work and we went back to the ball. And I got a chill from the wet grass.
Miss Fletcher in autobiographical mood.
Mr. Lucy Boorish. What are those bloody socks?
Aha! They're in the bedroom.
Just to restore your good humour,
Thank you.
temporarily displaced by the thought that you might not be supreme in the lady's affection.
Nothing of the kind. I don't like Edward Scott, and I'm not going to be won over by anecdotes about silver-tongued old railwaymen.
I hate you.
That's a sound basis for a permanent relationship.
I didn't understand then what the old man meant about having all the time in the world.
But now you do?
Yes, because you do, don't you?
Yes. What?
Darling, you've left some soap in your ear.
No. Hey, no, stop. What should... No, leave that. No. Where do you come from?
You know very well where I come from.
It has grey roofs, you told me. And there are cobbles in the streets, and there used to be trams when you were a schoolgirl. And 30 years ago, if you'd been living then, you'd have left school at 13, you'd gone into a factory. And at 20, you'd have had 3 children. Now look at you.
Well,
Well, here you are, wandering around half-dressed with a man old enough, with no great show of precocity, to be your father.
come on. You really are going to be late.
Jane,
Yes?
what about Edward?
We'll have to go on to glory without me.
Very satisfactory.
I'll go.
You're not properly dressed.
Never mind, it's probably only the post. Thomas. Oh, my God, it isn't as late as that, is it?
No, it's just... Well, I wondered if Mr. Lucy was here.
Yes, come in.
Who is it?
It's Thomas, darling.
I thought I might miss you if I left it any later.
I told David you were going.
I was very sorry to hear it, Thomas.
I told myself it's for the best.
Sit down, there's plenty of time.
Oh, thank you.
Have you finished packing?
Yes.
Which isn't really goodbye, Thomas. Well, we'll come and see you at your daughter's place. We said so.
Yes, thank you. I wanted to thank you both for everything you've done.
We haven't done very much, Thomas. You've been so independent.
I was trying to put some things on one side, things to take with me. Sorting them out, I thought, it's like the ending of another chapter. Not a very long one this time.
How long, Thomas?
6 years altogether. Long before you two came, of course. See, the wife died and I couldn't keep the little house on. I couldn't do right by the garden, you see. At the end, it would have broken her heart to see it. Like a jungle the rose beds were. She liked all the flowers, mind you, but roses were her special favourites. They lasted longer, for one thing. Christmas time some years and we'd have roses on the table. As for the other flowers, she used to say, a few weeks, then summer will be over.
Has your daughter got a garden?
Oh, yes.
Well, they'll be glad to have your help.
No, it's the interest that's gone. You lose interest in time. Well, now, look, I mustn't keep you. You've got your work to do, Mr. Lucy.
We will come, Thomas.
Yeah. Goodbye, then.
Goodbye.
I'll see you later, Thomas. Call me if you want anything.
Yeah, thank you.
Poor old man.
Oh, he'll be all right in a day or two.
He didn't believe us when we said we'd go and see him.
We will.
Once or twice, to begin with, and then there'll be plenty of reasons for not going. We shan't have anything to say, and we'll be embarrassed, and he'll be embarrassed. Oh, why is it so hard for people to talk to each other? What time will you be back?
Oh, not late. Before you, probably. We might go out, have a meal somewhere.
In the money.
Enough. Bye, darling.
Goodbye. Here, don't forget the paper.
What? Oh, no, thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Good morning.
Edward, what do you want?
Can I come in?
David's just gone, but I suppose you knew that.
I waited until I saw him going down the street.
Well, now you're here, you can help me with those plates. Take the tray over to the sink, will you?
Oh, yes, of course. I thought you might tell me to go to hell.
I may well do just that. There's a tea towel somewhere. Over there, behind those pans.
Yes, I found it.
What did you come to say this time?
I wanted to know if you'd thought over what I said to you last night.
There wasn't any thinking over to be done. You sat in David's flat, in David's chair, and asked me to leave him. I said no. That's that.
Well, that's not fair.
Oh, yes. And you implied that it was for my own good.
Hell, well, it wasn't meant to sound like that. Well, can't we leave these damned dishes?
There aren't many, and they have to be done. I have some responsibility to leave the flat tidy for David. Incidentally, he saw you leaving last night.
Well, why didn't he say something to me then?
He decided to play it by the rules. We have rules, David and I, based on complete non-interference. Each of us does what he wants. We tell each other just what we want to tell. So he decided to say nothing about seeing you.
And you decided to say nothing about my coming to see you.
Exactly.
Then how do you know he saw me?
Because he had to tell me this morning. I told him he wanted me to go to Canada with you.
That seems a little direct.
David and I are always direct. I think that's what you've never understood about us. Cups and saucers go in that cupboard. The cups hang up.
I've never understood anything about you and David. I don't know whether you went to him or if he came to you. I only hope he realizes how lucky he is.
I know how lucky I am.
But one day, Jane, for all the reasons I gave you last night.
One day. Someday. In the meantime, I like living with him.
Do you mean to have children?
No.
Then it's irresponsible. What are you laughing at?
It's the second time I've heard that word this morning. And what kind of responsibility would it be if I had children? It's too soon. I don't want to be responsible yet.
Lots of women have to be by your age.
And I don't. David said this morning that 30 years ago I'd have had 3 children by now. Well, it hasn't happened. I've been liberated. Isn't that it? And I've been dispossessed. That's what they never say. Well, I need to work it out.
You're not the only one.
I'm the only one I have to care about. All right. Let the others settle for the things they think they want. But don't ask me to do the same.
And what about David? Is he part of the working out? And what about his wife?
No, Edward. Don't let's go on to that bit. You can hang up the towel if you've finished. I have to make the bed.
Just don't understand why it had
Nor
to be
do
you.
I. But I'm not sorry it was.
Well, there isn't much point in my staying any longer. I don't know if I shall see you before I leave. They may want me to fly out on Sunday.
I thought you said 3 weeks.
It could be sooner.
I see. I hope you manage to make a success of Canada.
Well, I expect I shall.
I'm sure you will. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Jane.
Well, you were going to say something else.
30 years ago, with those 3 children, I wonder if you'd been any less happy.
Luckily, neither of us will ever know the answer. Goodbye.
Bye.
Oh, I'm
Oh, you've
sorry.
got a visitor. Mr. Carvel, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
I'll leave you then. Goodbye.
What is it, Thomas?
Oh, I'd packed the radio and I'd got nothing to do. I wondered if I could wait here.
Yes, of course. You'll have to talk to me while I get dressed. You sit down in here and you can shout at me in the bedroom.
Yeah, all right. My son-in-law's no great conversationalist. More a talker, if you know what I mean. I shan't get many words in while I'm there.
You'll manage. Perhaps that's your daughter now.
Would you like me to go?
No, I'll open it.
Miss Fletcher,
Yes.
my name's Lawson. My wife told me to call here about my father-in-law.
Oh, yes. He's in here. He came down to wait for you.
Mind if I come in?
No, please do.
Thanks. Good morning, Dad.
Good morning, Sidney.
Ready for the off, then?
I've got to bring my cases down.
I'll give you a hand.
No, I'd rather do it myself. You wait here, if the young lady doesn't mind.
No, I don't mind.
Is Mary downstairs?
No, she's at home.
Not ill, is she?
No, not ill. Busy. There's always a lot to do. Now, you go on upstairs. If you need help, just...
I got in on my own. I'll get out on my own. I'll tell you when I'm ready.
Stubborn old man.
He's a bit upset.
I dare say.
He must have left home very early.
Wanted to get it over. Good military maxim. Move early, hit 'em hard, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
Cigarette, Miss Fletcher? Mary and me, we're very grateful for your kindness to the old man.
We've hardly done anything for him.
I can't believe that. Let me give you a light.
Thank you.
I don't suppose you've seen a lighter like that before. That's the regimental crest.
Ah.
It's a souvenir, you see.
It's very nice.
Given to me when I was demobbed. Of course, that'd be a bit before you'd remember. The boys of the unit clubbed together to give it me. I don't mind telling you, I had quite a lump in my throat when they did it.
I'm sure you had.
You don't mind me talking on like this, do you?
No.
I don't suppose the old man will be much longer. I met the wife during the war. She was a good sport in those days. Still is, for that matter. This business of her father, it's shaken her.
Shaken.
Well, I don't mind telling you. I said to her, it's for the best, I said. You see, she was willing to have him at our place, but I said...
You mean he's not going to stay with you?
No. Mind you, he doesn't know it yet, so it's just between the two of us, you and me at the moment.
But...
We've got him into a nice little home. Only 30 old gentlemen in it, and only about half an hour from our place. A full-time matron and a qualified staff.
And when are you taking him there?
Today, right away. That's really why Mary wouldn't come. The thought of it upset her. But she's going along to see him tonight.
You can't just take him there this morning. You've got to talk to him first.
I'll tell him when we're in the car. It's for the best.
But he's expecting to come and live with you.
Now, you've been kind to the old man, Miss Fletcher, but you don't have any right.
I'm not claiming any right. I'm saying that you have no right to shove him into this place without giving him time to think what's happening to him.
What good's thinking going to be to him? He hasn't got any alternative. He can't stay with us. He can't stay upstairs. It's a miracle nobody's complained already. It's filthy there. And anyhow, we're putting him in a nice place. Mary and I went to see it. And she asked specially if it had television.
And did it?
Oh, yes. And a bar, which they open on Saturday nights.
A home from home. Oh, for God's sake.
Now, miss, please stay out of it. It's our family, and we'll decide.
I know that. But you don't understand. He'll hate it.
Do him good, a bit of companionship.
Couldn't he stay on here?
In the flat?
Or if he paid someone to clean up for him?
He hasn't the money for that.
I could go up myself. If I said that I'd...
Every day, miss. That's what it needs. Oh, it's an easy thing to say now. You mean it, I'll give you credit for that. But every day? And sooner or later he'll have to go. He's an old man. Isn't it better now, while he can still make friends with the other old men?
There'll be so many rules. When to get up, when to go to bed, when to wash,
He's
when to...
got to accept that.
You ought to tell him first.
So I shall, but in the car. Help to make up his mind if he's in the car.
You're trapping him.
It's being cruel to be kind. Put it that way, if you like.
Seems so unfair.
He'll see it our way, Mary's and mine. Just as you've done.
But I haven't done.
Look, miss, you aren't going to say anything, are you?
No. I'd better let him in. Hello, Thomas. Have you got everything?
There's just the 2 suitcases in the parcel.
Right then, we can be away.
Shall I come down with you?
No, you stay here. You've got to be off to work soon.
Goodbye then, Thomas.
Goodbye, my dear. There's the key to the flat. They'll be sending someone round for it later.
We'll come for the furniture later, Miss Fletcher.
And if you and Mr. Lucy can't find the time to come, I'll understand. But write if you have a moment.
Give me the suitcases. Right. Goodbye, Miss Fletcher. Nothing else you want to say to him?
No.
I said you'd see it my way. It's the only solution, isn't it? Now, be careful with that case, Dad. It may break.
Right.
Put your hand under the bottom part of it. That's it.
It's all right. I can manage.
All right.
Oh, my God. Hello? Put me through to Mr. Lucy's office, will you? No. Don't do that. Just give him a message, please. Tell him Miss Fletcher rang. Tell him she just wanted to talk to him. No, there's nothing else. Just to talk to him.
That was A Few Weeks, Then Summer Will Be Over by Colin Shaw. Production was by Ronald Mason.
A Touch of Imagination. A play for radio by Dennis Constant Duras.
Oh, Lord. Is that the time? Oh, it can't be. No, honestly, my watch must have gone wrong. Can't be as late as that, surely. The time. Look. My watch says nearly 25 too. Oh, well, I might as well not go to the office at all at this rate. Stay at home. Take the day off. I'll have a damn good mind to if I don't feel any better. Oh, no, seriously. You know, I heard that blasted town hall clock strike every quarter till 4 this morning, I should think. Oh, well, I shall have to go, I suppose. This meeting, this damn departmental get-together lark. Lord, if I have to sit through all that dreary waffle feeling like this. Oh, Lord, sorry.
It's all right, dear. I ought to be used to it.
I knew the moment I woke up. I had this pain, you know, this damn pain here. Just here, look, darling, look, there, see, here. Yeah. Felt it the moment I woke. Wonder whether I ought to give Rogers a ring. Get him to give me another checkup. What do you think, Alison? Perhaps you get on to him later, during surgery? Just ask him. Would you do that, Alison?
Well, dear, I'm afraid he'd only say it was indigestion again.
Indigestion, huh?
And I must say, my love, it just does sound the teeniest bit like it.
Well, of course, you're lucky. You've got a cast-iron stomach. Nothing ever upsets you. Never. I don't suppose you've ever really had an indigestion in your life. Have you? I mean, what I call real, proper indigestion. Well, I mean, have you?
I'm sorry, dear. I can't help it.
Oh, Lord, I better take some more of this darn stuff, I suppose. Not that it does the slightest good. Now, what does it say? Dissolve 1 in a little water. No, don't move. I'll do it. You stay where you are. Oh, Lord.
Here, take this.
What?
My cup. I haven't finished. Save you getting up.
Oh, thanks. Sure?
Be my guest.
Oh, well, thanks then, but actually it says water.
Oh, my God.
No, all right. Don't move. I'll do it.
I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to finish this book of Brenda's.
Yes. Good, is it? Repeat every 3 hours until relief has been obtained.
Well, you wouldn't like it.
Why not?
Well, you'd say it was just woman's mag stuff, slush. I'm rather enjoying it, though.
Oh, tastes like French chalk. Every 3 hours. Oh, Lord. Oh, I do feel awful. Oh. I believe you think I'm just making it up, but I assure you I'm not. Oh, my God, fathers. That's not really the time. It can't be. Oh, well. Briefcase. Where the hell's my briefcase? Alison? Oh, it's all right. Here it is. Now, don't panic. Got it. Oh, well, if I don't feel any better, I may pack it in at home and come home early. Well, why not? They can't shoot me. Bye. Bye-bye then, love.
Bye.
I won't kiss you in case there's anything catching. Oh, Lord. Perhaps I'd better take my Mac in case, to be on the safe side. It's all right. I've got it. There we are. Bye. Look after yourself.
Have a nice day. Ooh, bliss, bliss, bliss. She lay back at
utterly relaxed, abandoned, enjoying with a positive, sensuous pleasure the slow feeling of well-being that crept inch by inch over her whole body. It was a glorious, voluptuous feeling. Smiling, she closed her eyes. For how long she remained, she had no idea. Then, gradually, she became aware of an odd sensation, a slight contraction of the skin on her stomach, as though someone, somewhere, was looking at her. Instinctively, she drew the flimsy, almost transparent garment over her. Oh, no, not already. Blast. Hell.
All right, dear, coming. Haven't you got your key?
Slippers. Where are my slippers?
Shan't be a moment.
Oh, give me strength. I'll never get that darn book finished. Well, that was pretty rapid, my love. What happened? Didn't you... Oh, hello.
Good morning. Mrs. Brandish?
Yes, Sandy, I'm afraid I don't...
Look, I'm sorry to call on you at such an unearthly hour.
Oh, well, that's all right, I suppose. Do you want to see my husband?
Oh, well,
Only he's gone to work, I'm afraid. I'm very sorry. Can I give him a message or anything when he gets home?
Oh, well, no, never mind.
Well, who shall I say it is? Or perhaps you'd like to call back this evening when he's in.
No, it's all right. Oh, well, look, perhaps you could help me. It won't take a moment. May I...
Well, I'm afraid it's not very... We were a bit late this morning, so we overslept.
Oh, that's all right. I don't mind if you don't.
Well, I'm afraid the place is in a ghastly mess still, as you can see. My husband wasn't feeling very well.
Oh, dear.
Well, come in.
Nothing serious, I hope.
Oh, no. Nothing really. Well, to be honest, we went out to dinner with a few friends. You know, that new little restaurant place down by the bus stop. Did you notice it? Real Italian food is gorgeous, but a bit much, if you know what I mean. Well, I'm the tough one. Nothing ever upsets me. Well, now, what was it you wanted to see him about?
Marvellous view you have from up here. One doesn't realise.
Oh, dear, my sordid underclothes. When I come in late like this, I'm afraid I just step out of everything and get straight into bed. Oh, my mother'd have a fit. Please don't look.
Good Lord! Dear old Alley Pally, my favourite hideous building, Alexandra Palace.
That's better. So sorry. Well, now, what shall I tell him then?
Oh, well, to be quite honest, it's not really your husband I want to see.
What do you mean?
It's you, actually, Mrs. Brandish.
Me?
Oh, don't sound so alarmed. It's nothing unpleasant, I can assure you.
Look, if this is another of those ghastly survey things, I shall scream, and I mean that.
Really? Why?
Well, honestly, I mean, we're always getting people round here. I don't know why, yet my friend who lives over at Chalk Farm says she's never had anybody. Why not try her for a change?
Oh, well, of course, if you'd rather not.
Oh, no, please, I'm sorry. Take no notice. I'm just in a foul mood this morning, that's all. There's nothing unusual, I'm afraid. Now then, clear the corner of the table, that's right.
Thank you.
Don't think there's any coffee on that bit. I hope not. Yes, you know, there was someone round only last week, as a matter of fact. Some ghastly little man asking a whole lot of the most extraordinary questions. Had we got a colour television? If so, was it hired or our own? What did we cook on? Did we have to share a loo, even? I thought that was a bit off, actually. Well, don't you? I mean, from a complete stranger, and he was so coy about it. Pete said I shouldn't have answered. Besides, he had about 4 propelling pencils clipped in his outside pocket. I can't bear that. It's all right, you haven't got any, or I wouldn't have said anything. Well, now, what is this, then?
Well, now,
Are you sure you're comfortable? It's a beastly chair. I won't sit there myself. Oh, dear, excuse me. I'm afraid I'm hopeless in the mornings. My husband actually gets up first and gets the breakfast, only he had this disturbed night. I'm afraid I didn't even wake up. Well, not properly. I'm awful. Well, what was it you wanted to ask me?
Oh, well, it's quite simple,
You
really.
know, I was just thinking, you must have the most appallingly low opinion of women in your job.
Me? Why?
I mean, do they all go on like this? I bet they do. Lord, I can't think of a more frightful occupation. Listening to a lot of half-balmy, frustrated females all the time. Honestly, it'd drive me nuts.
On the contrary, I rather enjoy it. Well, sometimes, anyway.
You're very polite, aren't you?
Well, one has to be in my job.
The curious thing is that when my husband and I are alone together in the evening, I practically never say a word.
No?
No, that's quite true. But I can't expect you to believe it.
Oh, I know.
It's queer. I don't know how it happened, really, because when we were first married, we used to talk a lot and laugh. We had a whole collection of our own private jokes, I remember. Rather embarrassing now, I suppose, when I come to think about it. I suppose most couples are the same, but we seem to have stopped, ceased to communicate. No, I'm quite serious. I don't know why. Whether it's the effect of television or whether it's us. Now we just grunt. Well, make noises. Well, practically, that's what it amounts to.
Well, look, if you don't mind,
I suppose it might have been different if we could have had a family. That's what I tell myself anyway, though I don't know. Not that I really wanted it when we were first married. I must be quite honest about it. You see, I was on the stage when I first met Pete.
Oh, really?
No. That's not strictly true. Why did I say that? I went to drama school, certainly, but that's not quite the same thing, is it? It's funny how I always find myself saying that when I first meet people, at parties and so on, when I meet a stranger, somebody I want to impress. Of course, I was on the stage till I met my husband, I always say, implying that I gave up a glamorous career to marry him, which isn't true in the least, as a matter of fact. Look, do you do that? Tell stories to impress people?
Oh, invariably. Well, now, if you
I
don't...
bet you don't. I'm sure you don't. You're not the type. You're much too sort of normal and, what's the word? Well integrated. That's right, isn't it?
Is it?
Well integrated. That's what you are. I'm not. In fact, I'm not integrated at all, whatever that means. I suppose, to be honest, I don't make things up so much to impress other people as to try to impress myself. Somebody once said that was the only really unforgivable kind of dishonesty, to tell lies to oneself. It's like cheating yourself at patience. You do it once and you're on the slippery slope. I believe that, you know, I think that's... Oh, Lord, I'm sorry. Why do you let me drool on like this? Don't just sit there. I'll go make some coffee. This ghastly compulsive chat makes me so thirsty.
Well,
No, don't move. You needn't drink it if you don't want to. More sugar?
No, thanks.
You must think I'm some sort of complete nut, I should imagine, luring you in at this time of the morning when I'm not even properly dressed or anything.
You didn't lure me in?
Oh, that's what you think. Anyway, I didn't exactly throw you out, did I?
No, you didn't do that.
I should think you must imagine I'm some sort of nympho, don't you? Go on, say what you really mean for once. Don't be so polite all the time.
Being polite?
Oh, yes, you are. Of course you are. You're cautious, very cagey. Don't give yourself away, do you? I suppose you think I make a habit of doing this sort of thing. As a matter of fact, you'd be quite wrong.
Might you take that as a compliment?
You can take it how you like. It's all one to me. It happens to be true, that's all.
I believe you.
I know what you really think. Well, obviously.
What?
That I'm just the usual ordinary promiscuous slut. Oh, yes, you do. Of course you do. I don't blame you. I don't blame you in the least. Only for your sake, I think perhaps I ought to make it clear. I may be a slut. Who isn't? I may be pretty ordinary, but I'm not the other. I thought perhaps I ought to warn you.
I see. Thank you.
I don't know why. I just can't seem to help it. I don't tell my girlfriends. Of course, they just think I was a bit odd. So if you'd rather pack up and go now, I should quite understand.
No, thank you.
Are you sure?
Perfectly.
Good. I'm glad. Oh, Lord, I wish there was some other relationship between men and women, don't you? Well, honestly, I mean, half the time the whole thing's a complete drag, if you ask me.
There is, you know.
Like what, for instance?
Like just talking.
Yes, I suppose so.
Do you know some of the best and most perfect relationships in one's life only last about half an hour? Less even.
Yes, that could be true, I suppose.
Somebody you meet quite casually on a train or just in the street. May only be for a few moments.
Yes, you know, that's true. I believe that's true when you come to think about it. You see, when I was a child, I used to tell myself these long, elaborate stories about this imaginary brother. Haven't got one, really. There's only me.
Haven't you got a sink basket or a garbage can or a waste disposal unit in this place?
Yeah, there's a pedal bin thing under the sink. Look.
Oh, I see. Sorry, yeah, thank you.
Then when I went away to school and all the other girls started telling each other about their families, I suddenly said, my brother's got a broken nose. He got it playing football. I don't know what made me say it. There were 3 of us, I remember, warming our hands on the water pipes one Sunday evening before prayers. Girl called Geraldine something or other, and a rather dreary creature called Patience Wilmslow. And afterwards, this awful Patience character came sidling up to me in prayers and started asking questions. What was it like having a brother? Was he older or younger than me? Did he ask his friends home in the holidays? You know, all that sort of thing. I answered, made up a whole rigmarole about days out on our bikes, camping expeditions, cooking our own food and so on, all pretty feeble. In fact, the kind of thing we'd both read about in stories. But it seemed to please her. In fact, she wouldn't let me alone. She would sit next to me at meals and try to get me to go for walks for her and all that sort of thing. She's one of those sad, rather awful people who never get picked when you're making up games and have to pretend they don't mind. You know what I mean.
Yeah, I know.
The funny thing was that we didn't even like each other at all. We hadn't anything whatever in common except my imaginary brother. I used to invent long letters from him, lie awake at night making them up, all about his friends at school, and later about girls, that sort of thing. And she'd ask me next morning at breakfast if I'd had another letter, and I'd tell her. And the odd thing is, I don't know to this day whether she really believed any of it, whether she wasn't just sort of playing the same game as me. But we never batted an eyelid, either of us. It went on for years. In fact, now, looking back, it was the only part of school that I really enjoyed.
And your brother?
My brother?
The imaginary one.
Oh, what about him?
Did he survive? I mean, have you still got him, so to speak?
Why'd you ask that?
I don't know, I just wondered, that's all.
You know, it's funny you should say that.
Well, what do you mean?
No, well, he survived for a bit after I left school, and then he changed.
Oh?
Well, he's the same in some ways, but he's not so much of a brother now. Well, not quite. I don't really know what he is. Hey, but what about you? Yes, now, come on.
No.
You don't say much. Stop being so horribly cagey. It's your turn to bare your bosom.
No. I'm afraid there's nothing to tell about me.
No, come on. That's not fair.
No, I'm sorry, I really can't oblige.
Oh, why not?
Well, Jen, there's nothing. Well, I suppose I could make something up, like you and your brother, but that really wouldn't help, would it?
Well, of course, if you're going to be like that.
I have no past and no future, only a present, which you already know. In fact, my love, I don't really exist at all. I'm only a figment of your overheated, undernourished imagination. There.
Right, thank you. Don't bother about putting those things away. I'll do it later. Now, if you'll excuse me, I really think it's time I thought about getting properly dressed, so if you don't mind...
Like that, is it?
Well, what do you expect, for heaven's sake?
I'm sorry, I'm really sorry.
Oh, you're breaking my heart. Excuse me. I must say, I think it's absolutely disgusting.
Oh.
No, I'm perfectly serious about this. You've upset me very much. I hate people who do that sort of thing. I didn't think you were like that.
Like what?
Well, you let me drivel on for hours, say things I wouldn't say to anybody in the world, and all the time you're just laughing at me.
Oh, I'm not.
No, don't come near me. Go away. If it's any comfort to you, you've made me feel an absolute and utter twit.
Right. Well, if you want me to go, I'll go.
Thank you.
Listen, you said just now that some of the best moments in life are these brief meetings. Things that one cherishes in secret at the back of one's mind.
I didn't say it. You said it.
All right, but you agreed.
Well?
They don't happen often, you know, love. Less and less, I should imagine, as time goes on.
So?
All right, I'll be pushing on.
Oh, stop. All right, I give in. I know I'm feeble. No, you don't have to say anything, thank you. I've got no pride. Put your things on the table again. You win.
Look, it's not a question of winning and losing.
Oh, yes, it is. Of course it is. It always is when it's between just two people. The funny thing is that when it's just Pete and me, it's always I who win. I think that's really half the trouble. No, I shouldn't say that. That's horrid. That's not fair.
Come and sit down.
The trouble is, people change so, don't they? Especially after they're married. I expect I have myself. Poor Pete.
Come to that. Poor everybody.
Of course, at the beginning it was going to be something wonderful, quite utterly different from anybody else's marriage, and I suppose for a few brief moments it really has been. Oh, no, don't think I'm complaining. Well, not more than anybody else anyway. I suppose the trouble is one always expects too much. Too much.
Hence the imaginary brother of your school days. And now the stranger.
What stranger?
The knock at the door when you're alone in the house. The footsteps behind you in the dark. Half fear, half excitement. Anticipation.
I don't know what you mean.
And on the crowded platform on the underground, you stand there looking so calm, so aloof, yet all the time in secret you're thinking to yourself, is it him? Or him? Or him?
It isn't that we're not happy. I don't want you to think that. It's only that one had such silly romantic ideas.
You get into the train. You don't turn your head. He follows you. He sits opposite. Your eyes never meet, yet in your hearts you both know. And afterwards, up the stairs and along the dark, echoing passages, it's only his footsteps that you hear behind you, and only his eyes you can feel boring into your shoulder blades.
Stop.
Then, outside in the street, you lose each other, and you feel suddenly empty.
Don't.
Why not?
You make me out to be horrible, just utterly horrible.
No, not in the least horrible. Just like all the rest of us. It's what's called the human condition, I suppose. Nothing much one can do about it.
I wish I'd never asked you in now in the first
I
place.
keep telling you, you didn't.
It's true, you see. That's the awful thing. All these years I've had this secret feeling. I've never admitted it to myself in so many words, but I've always felt in my heart that someday, somehow, somewhere... Oh, it was easy enough when I was a kid, when I was still at school. Then there was always this brother figure. Then later I met Pete, and I forgot all about him. But lately, in the last year, I suppose, he started coming back. Only now he's different.
Oh? What's he like now?
You know what he's like. You know perfectly well.
Do I?
Of course you do.
Go on. Describe him.
All right, then, I will. I will. You've asked for it.
Right. I can take it.
What's he like? Oh, he looks all right. Fine, in fact, gorgeous. It makes your heart leap when you first open the door to him. But that's all. There's nothing else. He's just that awful brother figure again, only bigger, a great big, wholesome, decent pipe-smoking type like the illustrations in a woman's magazine 20 years ago. Masculine, but at the same time sexless, if you can imagine such a thing. I suppose that's really what I want. It must be. Oh, Lord. Ghastly, revolting, humiliating. No, don't speak. Don't come near me. I can't bear it. All this time, Oh, heavens, Pete. It must be Pete. Oh, Lord. Pete.
Oh, thank God you've come. Thought I was going to pass out. Forgot my darn key.
Darling, what's the matter?
Got as far as the office and just couldn't make it. Couldn't go in.
Oh, Pete.
I had this awful feeling I must get home. Kind of panic, I suppose. So I turned straight round and came back.
Oh, darling, really?
Oh, I know what you think. But honestly, Alison, as I was sitting there, waiting for that train, I thought I'd had it. Thought I was going to pass out. But honestly, seemed as though this train had never come. I was sweating. And this woman, this female, said, "Are you all right?" I could hardly even answer.
What woman?
"Are you sure you're all right?" she said. "You don't look all right. Do you know, I hardly knew how to get into that train. I don't believe I should have made it if she hadn't taken my arm. This girl, oh, Lord, am I glad to be home."
Girl? What sort of age, then?
Oh, I don't know. And afterwards, she sat opposite, in the train. Just said, "Don't take any notice. You don't have to speak or anything." Decent other, I thought.
Yes, very. Young, was she?
Oh, Lord, I've never known that blooming journey seem so long. I thought it was never coming to an end.
This girl, woman, whatever she was, what was she like?
Oh, I don't know. About your age, I suppose. And, of course, when at last we got here, the darn escalator wasn't working. Oh, those stairs.
Oh, did she come with you?
Oh.
This girl, woman, whatever she was.
Oh, yes. Decent of her, I thought. Oh, Lord, I've never been so glad to get
what
home.
happened to her, this girl?
Oh, I don't know. Lord, was I glad when you opened that door just now. Was I glad?
kind of awful thought struck me that you might be out. I don't know what I should have done. I don't, honestly.
No. Well, I wasn't out, as it happens.
No. No, you weren't. Oh. Well, now, what have you been doing with yourself? Nice quiet morning?
Yes, thank you. Been reading. Trying to finish Brenda's book.
Oh, reading, eh?
That's what I said. Any objections?
Oh, no, no. No, love. Of course not. I know you think I make a fuss, but I really did feel awful, darling. Honestly, I did.
Hmm?
Just now, on the way home. You see, I do get this ghastly sort of feeling sometimes. Always have. Ever since I was a kid. This awful kind of panic. I can't explain. But I don't suppose it's anything really. Do you? I mean, it's all just imagination sort of thing. Shouldn't you think? Alison?
What, dear?
I said it's probably imagination. All just in the mind, so to speak. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, yes. Yes, dear. It's more than probable, I should think.
A Touch of Imagination was written by Dennis Constantiouris and acted by Aileen Mills as Alison, Peter Tuddenham as Pete, and Sean Arnold as the stranger. The play was produced by Brian Miller.
We present a cautionary comedy by D.G. Compton. Always read the small print.
I suppose this must be the living room, Mr. Peyton.
Sitting room, that's right. Shocking wallpaper.
I don't think it's so bad. Do you, Peter?
12 foot wide, I'd say. 12 by 1, 2, 3, 4,
The birds and the
5,
bulrushes
6,
were my uncle's idea,
7,
and the terrible
8,
blue ceiling. It was his
9,
flat, you see, until he died.
Oh, how sad.
Merciful release, really. He left it to me and Junie. This was the room he died in, so they tell me. DT's, and I'm frankly not surprised.
21 and a half of my feet, and they're about 11 inches. So that makes 21 foot 6 less 11 and a half. Well, it makes a good big room.
And the dining alcove has a hatch through into the kitchen. Well planned, isn't it, Peter?
Personally, I hate hatches.
Oh?
Like being in prison and having your food pushed through a little hole at you. You wouldn't know, of course.
The wallpaper's quite nice, Mr. Peyton. And we can easily paint over it if we find we can't get on with it.
Oh, unless you have any objections, of course.
None at all. As long as you keep the old wreck holding together somehow or other for the next year or so. It's all in the agreement, repairs and maintenance clause.
Oh, my husband's a solicitor. He knows all about that sort of thing.
Oh, I'm always telling my wife how wonderful it is what the human mind can encompass.
Yes, indeed. Well, it seems a pleasant flat, Mr. Peyton, and on the face of it, the rent you're asking is not unreasonable. However, the bedroom...
Perhaps you better take a look at the bedrooms.
I was actually about to suggest that the ceiling...
Ceiling's all cracked to hell, but I asked the builder and he says it's not dangerous. Through here and across the hall, and mind the step down. You could break your neck on that easy.
Not a very good salesman, is he?
It'll be a new approach, the negative cell.
I wonder what he does, and what on earth his wife's like.
Spotty with beads.
There's a huge built-in cupboard thing here, shelves, mirrors, drawers and so on.
I think he's secretly very proud of the whole outfit.
Coming, Mr. Peyton. We were just admiring the hall. Some of these flats have such tiny, dark entrances.
Needs acres of carpet, of course. We sold off all my uncle's things. Needed every penny we could get and hardly made more than the auctioneer's commission. Well, that's it. Fitment in the main bedroom, sliding doors, fitted cupboard. Across the passage is the other bedroom, just about big enough to turn round in.
Oh, you'll need for a spare room, really.
Make guests too comfortable and they overstay their welcome.
Yes, yeah. Power points in all rooms. Hot water by electricity. It'll ruin you, but at least it's no bother. Bathroom at the end. Well, while you're here, you better see everything.
It's the kitchen I'm really interested in, Mr. Peyton.
Kitchen's not bad. It's along here.
You go, Mary. I'll have a quick look at the bathroom.
Oh, it's just a bathroom. Bath, basin, smell of old soap.
Door at the end, you said?
Help yourself.
Uh-huh.
We've had to leave the kitchen liner, Mrs. Shaw. The old fool had it stuck down with one of those new plastic glues. We couldn't find a thing that would shift it. There's a point for the cooker and another for the refrigerator, deep freeze, dishwasher, washing machine, what have you.
I'm afraid we don't have any of those. My husband's a very junior partner, only just joined the firm and very much on probation.
Oh, we're managing on a grant, Junior and me. I'm a medical student, research fellowship, studying the common cold.
Mr. Peyton!
Uh-huh.
Mr. Peyton! There's a...
What on earth's the matter, Peter?
There's someone having a bath, Mr. Peyton.
Having a bath?
The time these birds take. She should have been out hours ago. I bet she was reading.
She did have a magazine.
You didn't say it was a woman, Peter.
Perhaps he wasn't sure.
I was only quickly in and out. She was in the water.
Oh.
I mean, right in the water.
Trust Junie to use every drop of hot there is. Actually, she's been having baths here whenever she could. The landlady at our present place is funny about baths. I think they're like going to church, though. Once when you're born, once when you're married, and once when you're
When
laid out.
your wife has a bath, Mr. Peyton, I suppose she never locks the door.
What if she started drowning? Besides, we're both married men. We can look at these things sensibly.
There was nothing to look at. Just soapy water, I told you.
Well, you did a good thing. Dropped her the hint that it's time she came out. These long hot baths debilitate the system, you know. Increase the pulse rate, localise sweating in the face and hands, force the lungs to labour in a heavily steam-laden atmosphere, deplete
If
the blood...
Mrs. Peyton has been in the habit of coming here for baths, she's going to miss it when we move in.
She'll manage. We'll work something out. You are taking it, then?
It seems to be more or less what we've been looking for. As long as we can do a certain amount of redecoration. And as long as my husband can tie up the legal side satisfactorily.
The Poultry Keeper's Gazette.
What did you say?
The Poultry Keeper's Gazette. She was reading it upside down.
You didn't miss much.
It's having a photographic memory that does it.
About the flat. If you've really made up your minds, I've got duplicates of the agreements here in my pocket. Perhaps you'd like to take your copy away with you, Mr. Shaw. Check it back at the office.
Peter is a solicitor, you know, Mr. Peyton. He's fully qualified.
Good Lord, yes. Here, let me have a look. Yes, we're handling this sort of agreement all the time.
He'll just glance through it, Mr. Peyton, then we can get it signed and everything's settled right away.
But I expect your husband would rather go over it quietly back at his office, where he has books to refer to and so on. I'd hate him to agree to anything he hasn't studied properly.
Yes, Mary, it might be better if I...
Tenancy agreements are your special department, Peter. Is there really any need to go running back to old Moss and Wilkinson?
I'm confident enough, Mary. I only thought that perhaps you would prefer it if I...
All right, then, darling. You take the agreement away in a corner and look it through. I just want to have a womanly word with Mr. Peyton about the neighbours and when the dustbins are clear, that sort of thing.
I'll find somewhere quiet then, so that I can concentrate.
You stay in here. Move those cups and things and you will spread it out on the draining board. We'll leave you and go through into the living room. Now, Mr. Peyton, about the dustbins...
We haven't ever lived here, so I wouldn't know. Junie's been over more often than I have. She may have noticed.
What may I have noticed?
Oh?
Dustmen, when they call.
Oh, Wednesdays around lunchtime. Hello?
Hello?
Come on, Michael, introduce us. I'm Junie, his wife, you know. I'm sorry I wasn't here at first, but I've been having a bath. Lose all sense of time when I'm having a bath, I do.
Our name is Shaw.
He's nice, isn't he? A bit hopeless, but nice with it. Never thought I'd marry a man with a beard, not in 100 years.
Well, I suppose not.
Oh, I bet I'm all blotchy. That's what hot baths do for you. He's always saying I shouldn't. Well, from today I'm going to take myself in hand again. Hairdresser, proper manicure, chiropodist. Might even go to one of them Swedish masseuses. Quite a spare tire coming, see, all round here. Men always say they like you roly-poly, but I'm not so sure. In comes some beanpole and they're all eyes. Men don't make passes at girls with fat...
This seems to be in order. Perfectly in order, I'd say. I'm sorry, I didn't know.
Peter, this is Mrs. Peyton.
We've already met.
Have we? Oh, yes. Good morning, Mrs. Peyton.
Well, Mr. Shaw, if you're really certain that the agreement is all right, we might as well both sign, and that'll be that. If you're really satisfied, that is.
Perfectly satisfied. It all seems most reasonable.
Are they going to take it, Michael?
Oh, it looks like it. Mr. Shaw is a solicitor. He's just been checking through the agreement.
I'm glad you're taking it. If Michael says you're all right, then you must be.
I can assure you we'll be model tenants. There is the usual nuisance clause, but I'm sure you'll never have to invoke it.
Where are you living at the moment, Mrs. Peyton?
Diggs, near Michael's clinic. Ever so grubby. Rows if you leave a few old things drying in the bathroom. You know the sort of place. I can't tell you how much we're looking forward to moving.
Well, my dear, I hope you manage it as soon as possible.
Don't you worry, Mrs. Shaw, we will. Just as soon as you...
Yes, Junie. Shall we get the agreement signed, then? If there's nothing else you're not clear about.
Nothing at all. How about you, Mary?
I like the place. If you say the legal side's all right, then that's that.
Mary. What a pretty name. Can I call you that? I'm Junie. Now that everything's fixed, it seems daft to go on being all posh.
You're going to be our landlady. June, had you thought of that?
I don't feel like a landlady. Do I look like one?
Certainly not. Not that I know what landladies look like, of course. Well, now, I'll give you a quarter's rent in advance, Mr. Peyton, just to show good faith.
Oh, give it to Junie. She's the one who has to try to make ends meet. Here, lend me a pen and I'll sign the agreement.
Both copies mine, and then I'll do my bit, and it'll all be fixed. One cheque for a quarter's rent. Here you are, Junie.
Thank you, Peter. I can see we're going to get on like a house on fire.
Michael S. Peyton. There you are. That's both of them done.
Now me.
Are you sure, Peter? It seems so final.
Of course I'm sure. Besides, it's only for 1 year with an option on the next 2. We're not signing away our whole lives or anything. There we are. Peter Edgeworth MacDonald Shaw.
Makes me all creepy, just like the Magna Carta.
Here's your copy and here's the one I hang on to.
Now that it's all settled, I don't mind saying I think you're letting us have a real bargain, old man.
I'm glad you feel that way. Well, I must be off now. Very much obliged to you both. It's yours from midnight tonight. Be seeing you.
I can't come yet, Michael. I'm not even dressed properly and my hair's not dry.
I'm a working man, love. I've had half the morning off already and they'll be ringing from the lab to find out what's happened.
Well, we must be going too, Mr. Peyton, so perhaps we could share a taxi somewhere.
Well, it's very kind of you, Mrs. Shaw.
You can't all leave me. This trampy, echoey place and me all on my own. Tell you what, I've got cups and an electric kettle. We 3 could have some tea. Be all friendly. Oh, come on.
Well, we really
I
ought...
did warn the office not to expect me back till after lunch, Mary. I'm sure the things we ought to be doing. Like measuring for curtains, for instance.
How domestic of you, Peter. Usually that sort of thing never enters his head.
Junie will be helpful. There's all sorts of things she can tell you. I should stay here and make yourselves at home. It's very nearly already your home anyway. Well, bye, Junie. Glad to have met you both.
Off you go then, lovey.
He seemed in a bit of a hurry.
He's got these people with colds, see? All in different stages. They wouldn't give just anybody the job. Beards and brains go together, that's why I married him. The mattress now, is it rubber or spring interior?
Mattress?
What mattress?
You don't mind my asking, do you? The one you use for the spare room, of course.
It's a spring interior, I think. Yes, it's a spring interior.
Well, never mind. They are harder to turn, but I think they're more comfortable.
I imagine it's comfortable. We've never had any complaints from guests.
Oh, guests. Guests will put up with anything. They always remember they're lucky to have been asked in the first place. What a lovely flat this is. We got this letter, see, about hearing something to our advantage. So we went along. We'd never expected a penny from the old man. I still can't hardly believe it.
It's really a shame you couldn't keep it for yourself.
That's what I said. Michael says this way's much better. You see, his grant's a bit thin, poor lamb. On our own, we could hardly have managed the rates, even.
All the same, I'd have thought the rates would come to less than you're having to pay now for you.
Still, now we're all going to live together, it's just perfect.
I beg your pardon?
I said, as we're all going to live together, it'll be just perfect.
Live together? You mean you and us? Live together? Here?
Oh, I see. You don't know. I'll go and put the kettle on and we can talk while it's boiling.
What is she talking about?
You leave this to me, Peter. Mrs. Peyton, there's obviously one or two things we've got to get sorted out.
I was to ask one over with Michael last night, and he said, of course, any tenant would know what he was agreeing to. Myself, I wasn't so sure. It's a very unusual agreement, I said. Of course it's a very unusual agreement, he said.
Is it an unusual agreement, Peter?
Certainly not. There's a set form for these things. It's pretty well copied out, word for word.
I know it's an unusual agreement, he said. But of course anyone who signed it will take the trouble to know what they're signing. So I trusted him. And now, of course, you don't know, and it's up to me to tell you.
Of course I know. I went through that agreement clause by clause.
I asked Michael particularly if it was honest, and he said, of course it was. Well, to be truthful, he didn't say exactly that. He said it was legal, and he said legal's better than honest any day.
What exactly are you getting round to telling us, Mrs. Peyton?
Now he's gone off and left me this job, left me the dirty work. It isn't fair of him. He promised me you'd know all about it.
I've got the agreement here. Perhaps you can tell me what the hell all this is about.
The repairs and maintenance clause, number 6, I think, halfway down page 2.
The tenant in his part agrees to maintain and keep in a good state of repair all the said hereditaments, its fittings, and their contents. Also
and their contents?
I wondered about that. I decided it must mean the racks and drawers and that cupboard thing in the bedroom. It really didn't seem worth making an inventory of them. It'd be perfectly obvious if any was missing. I'd inspected them and improved them. That seemed sufficient.
I must say I don't see anything wrong with that, Mrs. Peyton. What comes next, Peter?
Also,
There's nothing wrong with it, only that he inspected me, too. And whether he's approved or not's beside the point.
I did not inspect you. Anyway, that's got nothing to do with it.
Kettle's boiling. Move over so I can make the tea. Let the dog see the rabbit.
My God! Don't you understand, Peter?
I'm afraid I don't. Give me a case entailed under semi-lapse medieval thiefment, and I'm an absolute wizard. But whether Mrs. Peyton was taking a bath or not seems to be totally irrelevant to the issue in question.
At the time of your inspection, Peter, Mrs. Peyton was the contents of one of the fittings.
I was in the bath.
You have signed an agreement, Peter, undertaking to maintain Mrs. Peyton and to keep her in a good state of repair.
She's in a good state of repair already.
And you'll have to keep her that way.
I told Michael nobody would agree to such a thing if they knew what they were doing. He said nobody'd sign such a thing without knowing what they were signing. He also said something about spiralling property values and this being the only way. But I did tell him, I did.
You do appear to have committed yourself, Peter. I mean, she was in the bath and you did see her.
Milk and sugar.
Both, please.
And you, Mary.
She doesn't take sugar.
I really do feel awful about everything, wishing myself onto you like this.
It's all right. It's not your fault.
I'd like to know whose fault it is,
It's
then.
Michael's.
It's Michael's. I mean, it's a husband's.
This flat isn't going to be as reasonable as you thought, Peter.
It won't be a nuisance. I'm not expensive. I don't eat much.
Not expensive? What about the hairdresser you were telling me about? The manicure, the chiropodist, the Swedish masseurs? Won't they come under the heading of repairs and maintenance?
Well, Michael says that...
It's ridiculous. I won't do it. I just won't do it.
What if you simply tear up the agreement?
That's no use. He's still got his copy. He took it with him.
Well, there must be some way.
Tea's getting cold. Don't you want it? I always say nothing looks so gloomy after a nice cup of tea. That's what I always say.
Do you?
I'm not really so hard to get on with. I'm sure it won't be nearly so bad as you think. Michael says I'm the easiest person in the world to live with.
That's why he's getting rid of you onto us, I suppose.
What a horrid thing to say. It's a question of making ends meet, that's all. Anyway, he's not getting rid of me. If you can't think of anything but horrid things to say like that, I'm going to go and finish getting dressed. I think you're mean, and I hope the tea I made chokes you.
It was rather unkind, you know, Mary.
Whose side are you on, Peter? You get us into this fantastic mess, and then you turn on me. If you're trying
There's
to...
no use in us quarrelling, darling. We're both a bit het up. We must find a way of getting rid of her, that's all.
Ring the office. Have a word with old Mr. Moss. He's bound to have some ideas.
Tell him the mess I've landed myself in. The senior partner? You must be joking. Look, I'm supposed to be an experienced man. I'm in charge of the whole property department. If one word of all this gets to Mr. Moss, I'll be out on my ear. And it'd be what I deserve.
We'll have to pay her to live somewhere else. That's all.
Clause 9, Section 3. And the tenant for his part shall at no time remove or cause to be removed any of the said fittings or their contents from the premises without first obtaining permission in writing from the landlord.
He might give it. After all, he's her husband. He can't really want her to be sealed away in here. So if it's only a question of finance, then...
Wasn't that the front door? Perhaps he's come back for something. Now, Mary, this is a legal matter. There's nothing to be gained by being abusive.
Abusive, Peter? Now, honestly, my dear, when am I ever...
Good morning, Mr. Peyton. We're still here, you see.
Glad you stayed. I forgot my sandwiches. Junior's been putting you in the picture, I expect.
My dear fellow, why should she need to? I read the agreement. I would hardly be likely to sign something I didn't fully understand, would
I'm glad
I?
to hear it. Then you won't mind telling me when you intend to move in. I forgot to find out before I left.
I don't see why that should concern you.
Well, of course it does. I'll need to tell our present landlady we won't be needing the rooms, and I'll need to give you my notice in writing in plenty of time.
Which notice in writing are you referring to?
Forgive me, Mr. Peyton, but you won't both be vacating your present rooms, will you?
Well, I reckon it'd be silly to keep two places going.
I understand our liability concerning your wife, Mr. Peyton. There's an easy way around that, as I'm sure you realize. Regarding yourself, however, I fail to see...
Repairs and Maintenance Clause, Section 2.
Section 2. Here we are. Also, to allow the landlord, upon notice in writing, all reasonable access to the said hereditary...
The interesting point there, of course, is the legal interpretation of the words reasonable access. Exactly what is a man's reasonable access to his wife? In the absence of a prior ruling, I'm prepared to make a stand on the hours of darkness, sunset to sunrise, more or less. We can take it to court if you prefer.
It follows, you know, Mary. It's all perfectly reasonable. Quite a nice point, really.
I don't share your enthusiasm, Peter. Now, look here, Mr. Peyton. Do you really mean to say that you are planning to foist yourself onto us as a sort of permanent, non-paying lodger?
Well, certainly not. I shall bring my own bed. I shall pay for whatever food I eat, and I'll make a contribution to the electricity bill. All I ask is reasonable access.
That's good of you.
Not good, only legal. Look, I don't want to sound clever about all this. I'm sorry if it's come as a shock. It's all there in the agreement. I hope you don't think I've swindled you in any way.
Michael, you've come back. They've been being beastly to me.
You look very pretty, my love.
You said you'd be careful who you chose, and they've started being horrid already.
I have been careful. You'll find they're just right. The first few days are bound to be difficult, mutual adjustments and so on. They'll like you all right when they get to know you better.
Will they really?
Of course they will. No normal person could possibly go on not liking you.
You mean I'm likeable?
That's it in a word, Junie. You're likeable.
You'll forgive my interrupting, Mr. Peyton, but could I get things quite straight? You really mean that by the terms of this agreement, we have to maintain your wife, keep her in a good state of repair, and allow you nightly access to her?
Well, not every night. Well, sometimes my work at the clinic keeps me. I'm doing research, you know.
If you honestly think we'll agree, you must be madder than I thought you were. This isn't the only flat in London. We'll find somewhere else. Anywhere. We'll sleep in a bus shelter if needs be.
You'll do what you think best, of course.
He means we'll have to go on paying the rent here, whatever we do, and maintaining the fittings and their contents.
It's only for a year. There's an option on a further 2, but I doubt if you'll be taking them up.
You're damn right we won't be taking that up.
I'd be grateful if you'd let us know your decision fairly soon. You see, if you're not moving in, then Junie and I'll have to get ourselves some furniture.
Every clause is perfect. Tight as a drum. It's a work of art, really. Quite beautiful.
I don't think your wife has quite your eye for beauty, Mr. Shaw.
I'll do my best. Let me have the thing, Peter.
Here you are, then. Now, look, old man, suppose we have another agreement. £3 a week more, and 4 even, and you take yourselves off.
You know the cost of living, Mr. Shaw. How could a student like myself possibly feed and clothe and house a wife like Junie for £4 a week? Look at her. You must see she deserves better than that.
But she's your wife, man. Are you really happy to have her looked after by just anybody?
I hate not being welcome, Michael. I think it's horrible.
Look at that. You've made her cry.
Oh, Lord, look, Mr. Peyton, it's not that we... Junie, honestly, we've nothing against you personally. It's just that, well, we want a home to ourselves. Anybody does.
Save your breath, Peter. I don't think they'll be staying after all.
She's the one who doesn't like me. I knew it from the word go.
Not staying, Mary. You mean you found something?
I know the clause she means, Mr. Shaw. It's the usual legal wording, but I'm confident that you'd be too much of a gentleman to take advantage of it.
You overestimate him, Mr. Peyton. Listen to this, Peter. And in return for compliance with the conditions herein laid out, the tenant shall have and enjoy the said hereditament, its fittings, and their contents for the period of the leases agreed in Section 3.
I don't quite see.
The tenant, Peter,
That's me.
shall have and enjoy
Well,
the said hereditament, its fittings, and their contents.
that's her. Oh, but I couldn't possibly.
Of course you couldn't. I understand completely. There are some things a man like you could never sink to.
He'll sink to them, all right. As a way of getting you two out, he'd sink to anything.
I couldn't, Mary. Honestly, I couldn't.
What's going on, Michael? What are you both looking at me like that for?
Never you mind, Junie, love. There are ugly things in life I hope you'll never need to know about.
Once and for all, Mary, I could no more adulterate Junie Peyton.
Of course you couldn't, Mr. Shaw. So just tell us when you're moving in and we can make our arrangements. I've got a camp bed for myself. Takes up hardly any room at all.
There's your alternative, Peter. Do you still say you couldn't do it?
Certainly I do.
I wouldn't mind, Peter. Not in such a good cause.
Well, I would. Mind, I mean. No offence to you, Mrs. Peyton. But it's quite out of the question.
Darling Peter.
What the hell do you mean, darling Peter?
Nothing, really. I'll tell you about it later. But you know, we might have frightened them out if you hadn't been so transparent.
I'm sorry. I didn't know. You should have winked or kicked me or something.
Oh, moment of truth over now. Regarding the date on which you plan to take up occupancy, you do realise, of course, that your liability towards the fittings and their contents begins at midnight tonight?
Michael, is that all I am to you? Just the contents of a fitting?
Of course that's not all, Junie. You're...
Well, I don't like it, and I don't like pushing in when I'm not wanted either.
We've been over all this before, Junie. It's the only way. You don't want to have to go on putting up with digs all your life, do you? The drains and horrible old Mrs. Fraser and that dog on the floor below. And what about the baby?
Hey?
The baby. Do you want to have that in a couple of rented fifth-floor rooms? I mean, be reasonable, Junie. I'm doing the best I can for you.
Baby. Did you say baby?
She's a bit overwrought, Mr. Shaw. She shouldn't really have scenes like this.
Of course, legally the baby was also the contents of one of the fittings.
The contents of the contents, really.
Look here, old man, you've got a quarter's rent in advance. What say you keep it? Come in very useful. Let us off the agreement and you keep it. You'll easily find other tenants, a couple with a child of their own, perhaps, to keep yours company when the time comes.
That's very generous of you, Mr. Shaw, but it's the suitability that counts besides. The flat's much too small for 2 children.
Losing us is going to put Mr. Peyton to quite a lot of bother, Peter. To make up for it, couldn't we possibly make it 6 months' rent in advance?
But I like you. I've got used to you already. I'm sure we're going to get on.
I'll make it a year in advance if you'll tear up the agreement.
For the baby's sake, Mr. Peyton. Think of the things you could get for it with a year's rent.
But there's still the repairs and maintenance to think of.
Oh, goodness me, you let this place again with no difficulty at all. Make out the cheque, Peter.
What do you think, Junie?
I think I'm going to be sick.
It's only nerves. It'll soon pass.
I hope you're right.
Well, here's your cheque. 9 months in advance. Now, if you just let me have your copy of the agreement. Thank you so much.
I'm still not sure I've done the right thing. What do you think, Junie?
I think
Well, we'll just be on our way then. It's been so nice meeting you both.
Getting on to lunchtime. Must be off now, really.
Must you really go?
Come along, darling. We've taken up more than enough of these good people's time already.
Goodbye, then. And mind the stairs as you go down. I wouldn't say the banister's all that reliable.
We'll be careful. Goodbye. And good luck with the baby.
Oh, yes. Good luck with the baby. Mary, I'm thought you'd be absolutely furious after a week. You're the shocking.
You are sweet, Peter. Don't you see?
Well, that's that, then. I wish they were all solicitors. We'd save a lot of money if they didn't usually have to take the agreement away with them.
They were nicer than most, those two. Do you remember the couple that started throwing things?
Oh, hey, the baby was a good idea. We'll keep it in as a clincher.
Honest, Michael, you're the cleverest person I know.
Well, they don't give medical research fellowships to fools. Now, I must get over to Shaw's Bank at once in case they think of stopping the cheque. And you see that the bath water's getting hot again, that there's plenty of soap, and that we've got 2 more copies of the agreement handy. Oh, and get something other than the Poultry Keeper's Gazette to read. It nearly made the Shaws suspicious.
When's the next lot arriving?
I told them 2 o'clock. You'll have to go very easy on lunch, or the hot bath afterwards will make you really sick.
2 hot baths in one day. This is the rich life, all right.
Well, I'll be off then. Need a rush to be back by 2. Another half a dozen deals like today's, and we'll be able to furnish the place and move in.
I should hope so, too. I'm getting tired of living in that old clinic. And what if the chief finds out that I haven't really got a cold at all?
No need to worry about that, Junie. I can easily give you one.
In Always Read the Small Print by D.G. Compton, Peter and Mary Shaw were played by Brian Cox and Deborah Stanford, and Michael and June Peyton by Colin Farrell and Anne Penfold. The producer was John Powell.
Industrial advancement here in Britain, as everywhere else, depends on the ability to comprehend the nature... no, change that. Comprehend, Miss Williams. Make it understand. Plain English is best.
Yes, sir.
To understand the nature of the objective. Simply to achieve it is not enough. Nearly 30 years' experience of business and public life has taught me that success is relative to the manner of succeeding.
The man dictating this speech, to be made to an international business conference, has succeeded very well. He is Charles Hayden, giant of the business world. What is more, he lives by his principles. He is in every sense a gentleman, respected by his friends, his business associates, and the public for his judgment and humanity. It's sad to think that before the day is out, he will be dead.
And if we are to continue to live in this world, a doubtful likelihood, we must contrive to respect it as it, for all our abuse and foolishness, has respected us. Yes, I think that will do, Miss Williams.
It'll do very well, sir.
Oh, thank you.
This is your Bristol speech?
Yes. Have you found a room for me anywhere?
Yes, sir, the Avon Gorge Hotel.
Fine.
Oh, there's your speech at the Bank of England dinner on Tuesday.
We'll do that when I get back on Monday.
Mr. Hayden's office?
Hello, Miss Williams. It's Mrs. Hayden. Is my husband there?
Oh, yes, of course, Mrs. Hayden. It's your wife, sir.
Oh, thanks. Hello, Iris, my dear.
I've just got in. You wanted me to ring?
Yes. A slight change of plan, I'm afraid. I'm going down to Bristol now instead of tomorrow evening.
Oh, dear.
The man from our Canberra office wants to have a word about something. The place will be full of delegates from all over the world anyway. I'd like to get to know them.
I see. Well, we were having drinks at the Jeffersons this evening.
Yes, I know.
This is all good for business, I suppose.
Mm.
And I'll make the usual apologies.
Thank you, my dear.
You should find quite a few old friends in Bristol, too.
Very probably.
Well, don't get drunk, Charles.
No, dear.
What about your things?
Well, I've got a spare case in the car, and it's only for a couple of nights. I'll be back straight after the speech on Saturday afternoon.
Well, look after yourself, dear.
And you, Iris. God bless.
Charles drove himself whenever he could. His chauffeur had more time off than on. Unlike a lot of us, Charles enjoyed the solitude. It gave him time to think. He was a good driver, too. The motorway to Bristol from London, the M4, is fast and goes through some pleasant stretches of countryside. A summer evening, and still light. Not much traffic about. Charles was well past Reading into Wiltshire when a signboard announcing a turning off a mile ahead caught his eye. The turning off to a place called Wentworth.
Wentworth? Good heavens!
Almost without knowing it, he turned off and slowed down. A few hundred yards ahead, a patrolman had pulled into the side.
Excuse me.
Sir?
How far is Wentworth from here?
About 4 miles, sir.
There was a village just beyond it, Mickleham. Is it, is it still there?
Oh, yes, sir.
Not a housing estate by now or anything?
No, sir.
And the inn, the Royal Oak?
Oh, yes, that's still there, sir. Just the same.
I can't believe it.
Well, you take the first turning right past Wentworth, and then if you keep on...
Yes, I know the way from there. Thanks. Good night.
Night, sir.
Mickleham. It was 32 years ago that he first set eyes on it. During the war, he was stationed near there. And 27 years since he left it behind. And Ruth. Never mind, Mickleham was still there. And the Royal Oak. Only 20 minutes out of his way.
I could just have a look at it. Go in for a few minutes, perhaps. Taste that local beer again. And that room on the first floor, number 7. How's it looking now, I wonder? They might even let me go up and see. Why not? Why not?
A light rain was falling. After the hot, dry spell, the roads were greasy. He was glad to be off the motorway and along the country lanes. His impatience to get to the inn urged him on, faster and faster. Charles opened the ancient latched door of the Royal Oak and made his way to the lobby. Once there, he paused in amazement. It was quite unchanged from what he knew 30 years ago. Perhaps the wallpaper was less insipid, but the cream paintwork, the furniture, and its very disposition, the smell of food from the kitchen, even the temperature and the snug atmosphere were precisely as he remembered them. The sound of a television set in the lounge was the only unfamiliar feature. He glanced up the stairs and saw that the tall bronze of the winged Apollo, bearing a lamp, the same lamp in his upraised hand, was still in its place, still lighting inadequately the draughty corridor on the first floor. There was no one to be seen anywhere. The reception desk was deserted.
Anyone about? That's odd.
Behind the desk was the office. It was empty. He rang the little brass bell that he had rung so often. But no one came.
Extraordinary. Mrs. Bailey? Mrs. Bailey?
He remembered that Mrs. Bailey, who owned the inn in those days, was well into her 60s then. She would have parted from it long ago, if not from life itself.
Must be someone somewhere.
He went to the bar and looked in. A huddle of elderly men at a table in the far corner murmured over their beer, taking no notice of him. And there was no one behind the counter. In the lounge, the only occupant was fast asleep in an armchair. Charles went back to the reception desk. The keys of vacant rooms hung on a board, and that to number 7 was among them. No other key was of interest to him. It was as much his room now as it was all those years ago. He took the key and climbed the dim stairs. remembering accurately which of them would creak under his foot. On reaching the door, such a fierce gust of emotion seized him that for a moment he lost his balance and almost turned away, too much aware of the explosion of memory that would follow his going in. But he knew that he must and would go in. His hand went straight to the switch, and the light that came on was as bright in that same yellow lampshade as it had ever been. The wardrobe, the painted towel horse, the rubbish bin, and the rugs on the polished floor were as he had left them. He sat on the old, sumptuous double bed and contemplated the familiar design of its brass ornamentation. Titles of books he had read in this room ran through his mind. The shape of shadows on the ceiling revived his attitudes, his very thoughts at that time. And hard as it was to believe,
That tap is still dripping.
he'd come back here after the Anzio landing, after Cherbourg, on sick leave after he was wounded at Cologne. He was in this room when Germany capitulated.
I slipped off the celebrations on this bed.
He got up and went to the window. The fading sunlight and a gentle rain fell across the fields and hedgerows. Apart from new outbuildings on a distant farm, the landscape was unchanged. And the small wooden bridge over the stream that he had crossed so often was...
message, Charles.
The voice was in the room, behind him. Ruth's voice. He dared not turn at once. Indeed, he could not, for he was momentarily rigid, fixed by a kind of dread of disappointment, if he should find that it was his imagination playing tricks, and not Ruth who had spoken. He was ice cold all over. At last he turned.
Ruth!
She was at the door in a loosely tied housecoat. It flashed through Charles's mind that she must be 50 now, yet she seemed far younger, and was quite as attractive as the girl he had once known and could not forget. She had that same subdued vitality, the same constantly amused eyes.
You're here.
Yes.
It can't be true.
Here. Take my hand. Prove it.
You here?
In room number 4. And you're in 7. As we always were.
As we always were.
Mm.
Our gesture to respectability.
Well, I preferred the view from here.
Oh, Ruth. Oh, darling Ruth.
Oh, Charles.
I still can't believe it. When did you arrive?
A little while ago.
But why?
Because you were coming.
But I wasn't. I'm on my way to Bristol.
Yes, a conference or something. It said so in the papers.
Not that I was coming here. I didn't know myself until half an hour ago. How did you?
I hoped you would. I guessed.
Guessed?
I could always read your mind.
Yes, yes, you could. Only too well.
As soon as we first met, Captain Hayden.
That dance in the village hall.
The Paul Jones.
Entertaining the troops. I hadn't wanted to go at all.
Just suppose there hadn't been a Paul Jones. Suppose you hadn't happened to fetch up opposite me.
We shouldn't be here now. We'd never have known this room. Our headquarters, eh? Every leave I could manage. It kept me alive.
The headquarters of our love affair.
Oh, darling. What message?
Hmm?
Just now. You said you got my message. What message?
Oh.
Now, come on.
Well, you were in your car on the M4 to Bristol, weren't you?
Yes.
You saw Wentworth signposted, and you turned off.
Yes.
Because you thought of me.
Yes.
There you are, then. That was my message.
It's busy along the lane this evening. It was always so quiet before. What's going on?
Charles?
Hmm?
Here. Lie beside me.
There never was anywhere to sit in this room.
Please.
I still can't believe it.
Oh, the years I've waited for this.
Yes.
You went ahead and married Iris, I suppose.
Yes. Yeah, we had our 27th wedding anniversary the other day.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
It turned out to be everything you wanted then. Everything you hoped for.
Yes.
Oh,
Don't turn away, my love. Ruth.
Have you a cigarette?
Yeah, of course. Here.
Thanks. Thanks.
You married pretty well yourself.
I thought so. How did you know?
I saw the announcement in the Times. A doctor?
A surgeon, yes.
You lived in Whitney?
Yes, Robert worked at a hospital in Oxford. Hold my hand, darling.
I called at your house one day.
When?
Well, it must have been, 12 years ago. We took a cottage for the summer. The Cotswolds and all that. About 8 miles from you, I walked over.
By yourself?
Yes. Iris was never too fond of walking.
We had some gorgeous walks here.
We did. I remember. Yes, of course I do.
Why did you call at the house?
Oh, I found myself in Whitney and I thought, why not?
Is that true?
No, I planned it. I couldn't resist the chance of seeing you.
Was that wise?
Perhaps not. But I told myself that either your husband knew nothing about us, or if he did, he'd hardly see any harm in a casual visit so many years afterwards. I mean, you didn't even know him when we broke up.
No. You really thought Robert wouldn't have minded?
Yes. It really is surprising how logical and civilized we expect other people to be on such occasions.
Was anyone in?
Your husband was.
What happened?
He said you were out and wouldn't be back for some time. He asked me in, though, and gave me a drink. A nice chap, I thought.
Yes, he was with strangers. Then what?
We talked. After a while, of course, he told me you'd gone. Left him.
He said that?
Yes. Why, hadn't you?
Yes, I had. 2 years before.
Hello. Sounds as if they're all coming back. There was no one about when I arrived. I must just see...
Charles!
No, only a second. Oh, yes. The entire staff, it looks. Even the chef. And the guests. Where on earth have they been? It's extraordinary.
Draw the curtains, darling. Remember the trouble we had with moths.
Heavens, yes. Hundreds of them all over the room.
Yes.
And you knew all the names.
Oh, well, I were a local girl. I learned them at school, nature study.
Hey, I must go down to the desk.
Why?
Well, let them know I'm here.
No, not yet.
I must.
No, please. Lie down again.
Hey, you know, I've just thought of something. I could stay here for the night and go first thing. We'll have dinner at our table.
Between the fireplace and the grandfather clock.
That's the one. Let's have a bottle of champagne.
The last time was V.E. night.
What a night. £3 the bottle. I seem to have no money in those days.
It didn't matter.
No.
Remember Daisy?
The waitress. Yes. She loved the postman.
Poor Daisy.
Why?
He married someone else. About the time you went away. For good, I mean. She was so sweet to me. I hope I was sweet to her.
There's one thing I must do. Ring that Bristol hotel.
Oh, no, Charles.
It won't take a moment.
Put it down, Charles, please.
Why?
There's plenty of time.
But...
I want to talk. That's all.
You always won.
Well, always but once. Take my hand again.
Darling.
At times you looked at me like that. Like a sculptor studying his subject.
You said that before.
I said everything before.
You still look so young. How have you done it?
Come, lie down.
Same old bed. Oh, same old springs, eh? You know, I'd thought this was all past. Worse than that, I thought we were past it. We're middle-aged now.
It doesn't seem to matter.
No, it doesn't. I've lost some of my hair, I'm afraid.
I'm not as slim as I was.
No, nor am I. But you are.
Too late, darling.
Sorry.
It makes no difference anyway.
No. None at all. Oh, Ruth, I love you.
I love you.
Oh. Who'd have believed we'd be lying here together again? This room, this bed. I want you as much as ever.
Me too.
Why did you leave Robert?
Have you been happy with Iris? Have you?
It's been a successful marriage.
I said happy,
Not entirely happy, but successful.
meaning it allowed you to be successful.
I suppose so, yes.
You'd have been happy with me.
Let's not talk about it.
Not so successful, perhaps, but happier.
Ruth, please.
I want to talk about
No.
it. Come with me now.
Hmm?
Come with me.
Where? How do you mean?
Come with me. Let's be together all the time.
Oh, Ruth, how can
It's
I?
easy.
It certainly isn't.
Yes, it's easy now. Just come.
I can't.
Why not? Why not? Are you afraid of a scandal? Of a row in the boardroom?
None of these things.
They won't happen anyway.
Well, they could?
No,
How do you know?
they won't. If that's all
It's
you...
not, I've told you. It's none of those things.
What then?
You know perfectly well.
Iris,
Oh, Ruth, don't.
leave me alone.
Darling, don't stare down at me like that. You look like a judge about to pass sentence.
Iris, aren't there any limits to that sort of loyalty?
She's my wife.
I knew you long before she did.
Yes, but
But her father was a top civil servant at the War Office. He could pull strings.
Oh, Ruth.
Just what an ambitious young man was looking for.
you don't have to remind me.
People manage to forget such things.
Well, how could I? I see his daughter every morning across the breakfast table.
Well, it paid off.
If it's any comfort to you, it's the one thing in my life that I most regret, that I'm most ashamed of.
It's no comfort. Well, you told me all about it in this room that evening,
I know.
just before you were demobbed.
Yes.
She's an unremarkable girl, you said.
Did I? God forgive me.
Wasn't she?
I suppose. Yes. But I was fond of her.
You loved me.
I can smell boiled fish. Let's go down and eat. Shall we? Ruth?
Don't you owe me some loyalty, too?
Yes, I do.
Not because I knew you first, or because it would be decent of you, or anything of that kind, but just naturally. Because you love me more than anyone. Don't you?
Yes, I do.
Forget Iris, then. Stay with me.
Oh, darling. We had this conversation once before.
That evening.
Yes.
It wasn't a conversation. It was an almighty row.
It was the worst battle I fought in the whole war. It got us nowhere then. Now, don't start again. Hmm?
I'm more your wife than she'll ever be.
Yes. You said that at the time.
I could still be. I could go on being. I could, Charles. Why do you smile? Why do you shake your head?
You know.
You could come with me. There's nothing to stop you.
Ruth, my darling. You never did accept anything without a fight, did you?
Well, what fights we had. And what armistices.
Oh, that was the great thing. The armistice. Even that evening.
Yes.
Oh, come here.
Oh, oh, my darling.
Now we're together again. Let's simply enjoy it. Forget what happened. We can't change it. It's now that matters.
Yes. Yes, it is. Now.
You know what? I don't have to go tomorrow. I can take another day. My speech isn't till Saturday. We'll do all those walks we used to do. Hmm? We'll lunch at the pub if it's still there. And we could go
No.
Why not?
Not just a day. Not even 2 or 3 days. Or a year. For good. Or not at all.
Well, that's impossible.
It's not. It isn't, Charles.
Oh, listen. People arriving, they might want this room. I must go down.
No, don't.
Darling, if I'm staying...
You needn't.
Needn't stay?
Come with me.
Oh, you mean your room? But it's so small, so's the bed.
I don't mean my room.
Well, then. Ruth? What do you mean?
Listen to me. Listen. I want you to leave Iris of your own free will.
What?
I want you to choose between us, here and now.
What is this? What are you up to?
It's your last chance. Come with me now, if you want to. Or not at all.
Ruth, I'm not free to choose.
Suppose you were. Would it be Iris or me?
Iris, it has to be. Oh, Ruth, you're not really going?
Ruth!
When Robert told you I'd left him, did he say how?
How? What do you mean?
When a woman can't stand the man she has and can't have the man she wants, what's the best way to leave?
Ruth?
Goodbye.
Charles stared at the door for some moments, unable to move. His entire body was cold, paralyzed by the inadmissible. Was Ruth, then, some sort of apparition, or the manifestation of his associations with this room and his desires, an hallucination? It couldn't be so. She was as much alive as he. It was just like her to use such extreme and desperate means to get her own way.
I'm damned if I'll let her.
He knew he could talk her round in time and get his way. He always had in the past.
She'll still be in her room, putting her things together.
He got off the bed to go to her. But at that moment there were voices outside the door.
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, and the lights on. These blessed maids.
It was the proprietress of the inn with two guests, an elderly couple. They took no notice of Charles.
Excuse me.
Anyway, this is the room. I'm sure you'll find it comfortable.
Oh, yes, it's very nice.
Splendid.
Still, they ignored Charles. He might not have been in the room.
I'm awfully sorry, but...
It's a charming room. We'll take it, shall we, Edward?
By all means, my dear.
Look, I'm sorry, but it's taken. You
There's
see...
a splendid view from here. You can see for miles.
Listen, I'm in here.
Oh, look, Edward, nothing but fields.
A stream as well. Can I fish there?
Oh, certainly.
Excuse me, I take it you're the proprietress. There was no one about, you see, when I got here, and...
What's all that going on along the lane there?
Oh, yes, a dreadful business. We heard the crash from here. Everybody rushed to help it. Oh, it was terrible.
Will you please leave this room at once?
He must have hit that tree at a terrific speed. They tried to get him out, but it was no use.
Charles would not listen to any more. He wanted to find Ruth. But the distance to the door seemed endless, and his legs refused to move.
Poor fellow.
Yes, he must have died instantly. Chap called Hayden, Charles Hayden. He's been on television. I recognized him. But, oh, it gave me an awful turn.
Charles, almost dragging himself along, escaped from the room and hurried as best he could down the passage, praying that Ruth had not yet left her room. Reaching it, he saw that the number 4 had been erased. The door was unlocked. He opened it. It was no longer a room, but a large store cupboard.
Ruth! Ruth!
Charles searched the hotel, but she was nowhere to be found.
Ruth!
Not in the lounge or the bar or the dining room. Nowhere.
Ruth!
He ran outside and along the lane.
Ruth! Ruth!
But only the wind answered him. Only the wind and the noise of a breakdown lorry hauling his car out of the ditch.
Is that everything?
Yes, except for the picnic baskets.
What do we want a picnic basket for?
Picnics?
We're not having any picnics. We'll be stopping off at pubs for a pint and a pasty. We're going to Cornwall, aren't we? It's great for pasties.
We can't take the children into pubs. We'll have to sit outside.
You have to sit outside with picnics.
Well, it was a present. I've never used it.
From your mother.
That's got nothing to do with it.
Yes, it has. If anybody else had bought it, we could have given it to the nearest jumble sale where it belongs.
Try and be nice to Mother. It's her holiday as well.
Don't worry. I'll be nice to her. I don't want her putting a spell on me, do I?
Sydney!
But I'm still not taking that picnic basket. Just some sandwiches in a thermos. What do you want?
Sophie feels sick. She's eaten all them munchmallow things.
Wait on. What's all that?
Are we all ready to go, then? Let me get into the car. I don't want to catch me death of cold out here. Silly time to be starting a holiday.
Hang on a minute. I said, what's all that?
I feel sick, Mum.
Shut up. Is that her luggage?
Who's her? Hey, who does he mean by her?
I mean you, Grandma.
Does he think I'm not here?
She's not taking that. Did you take all that with you on the Titanic?
Not enough, Smith. Some people are trying to get some shut-eye.
Now just calm down. We'll just have to rethink it a bit. We'll have to leave something behind.
Who does he mean by her?
We'll take a few things out and then repack the car.
That'll take hours.
I always said it was a silly time to be starting a holiday.
Aston Villa. I'm not going. I'm never going through all this again. Next time, you go on holiday and leave me in the pub. Aston Villa. No, Stanley, you cannot.
Oh, Dad.
I cannot stand all that yay, bebop-a-lulu stuff.
But it's not that, Dad. That's Radio 1. We want Radio 2.
I can't cope with that racket and the traffic.
Well, there isn't any traffic.
Music at all hours of the night. People should be in bed.
Some people work shift work, Grandma.
And some people are setting off on holiday.
Aston Villa, she's off.
I heard that.
I wanted to leave 2 hours ago.
Still in the middle of the night. Stupid time to set off on holiday. I always said
Would
so.
somebody please explain to her?
Who does he mean by her?
Grandma, listen to me while I tell you once again. Is your deaf aid turned up?
I am not deaf. I can hear every word you say. You'll be sorry when I'm gone.
No, Grandma, Sydney doesn't mean it.
I didn't know you'd planned on going.
There's nothing for him in my will, you know.
Now, that's all silly talk, Mummy, and you, Sydney.
I just wanted to understand once and for all that I wanted to leave at this time of night to avoid the traffic.
What would happen if everybody else thought the same way?
Well, they haven't, have they? As you can see, not another car in sight.
Well, can't we have the radio on then, Dad?
Shut up.
Sydney.
I want you all to try and get some sleep. In 6 hours' time, we should be in Mousehole.
Mousehole.
What?
Mousehole, that's how it's pronounced.
What are you talking about?
It's spelled mouse hole, but they call it Mousehole.
Do they? Bloody silly. Anyway, that's where we shall be in 6 hours' time, so it would be a good
I'm
idea.
not sitting for 6 hours with it. Picnic basket under me feet.
Oh, Sydney, you've never put that picnic basket under Grandma's feet.
Well, where else? I couldn't put it under my feet, could I?
Crippled now.
But why didn't you say earlier?
Well, I've never been one to complain, Sadie Lou.
Well, give it over to me. No, don't you struggle with it, Stanley. Give a hand.
Oh, I can't move it unless you push the seat back forward.
Oh, you'll have to stop the car.
I am not stopping the car.
Be reasonable, Sydney.
I am being perfectly reasonable. If I stop the car, we shall be half an hour while I unpack the back seat and get her sorted out. I've already lost 2 hours thanks to her. I'm not losing any more.
Mum, can you stop Stanley bouncing about? He's making me feel sick again.
You are not going to be sick, Sophie. I won't have it. I shall stop at the next service station where we shall have a coordinated pee break. You can then use the time to be sick if you so wish. I am not going to have unilateral peeing and freelance vomiting on this trip, or we'll never get anywhere.
You are being quite ridiculous, Sydney.
No, I am not. However, I am prepared to use the same stop to move the picnic basket from under your mother and shove it somewhere else.
I can't wait that long. It's giving me the cramp now. And I shall go to the toilet when I please.
Of course you will, Grandma. He's only teasing.
I am not.
You'll be old yourself one day.
Not if I have any more holidays like this.
Now, Stanley, you slide over to sit behind me and let Grandma sit in the middle.
Well, that's not fair. It's easy for Sophie.
Yes, but there's more room for your long legs behind me.
Well, not with the picnic basket there.
Do as you're told.
Now, Sophie, you slide under Stanley. Ease over, Stanley. There we are. Now, Grandma, carefully, you slide along in the middle. Ease up, Stanley.
Oh, my legs stuck down the side of the basket. Like we are, Mum.
Well, I'm sure you're right, Stanley, but since your father refuses to stop, well, just ease your leg out, Mummy. Now, Stanley, climb over Grandma. Gently, Stanley.
Oh, my leg! Oh, sorry, Grandma. Oh, it's broken. You've broken it.
What's wrong, Mummy?
I think it's broken my leg.
Stop the car, Sydney.
She's all right.
Mummy, are you all right?
Fat lot he cares.
I think you probably are all right, Mummy.
It'll be the most awful bruise.
Now, Mummy, are you comfortably settled?
Oh, if the children will just keep still, except for my leg.
Well, everybody snuggle down for the night and we'll all try and get some sleep. And, Grandma, I've got a little something here that might Oh, little bottle of brandy. Have a swig of that to keep the cold out.
Oh, you've always been a thoughtful girl, Sadie. Good to your own mother. More than I can say for him.
Grief. That's enough to stun a cow.
Oh, I can feel it doing me good already. I'll just have another mouthful.
Oh, Mummy, are you all right?
Yes, yes, I'm all right. I think Sydney must have hit a bump or something.
I ate nothing. You very likely swallowed the cork as well.
Will you have a little drop more later? Thank you. When you feel up to it.
Can we have a sing-song?
Yeah. I'd rather you try to get some sleep. You'll all be so tired tomorrow.
It's a silly time to set off on a holiday.
Just one, Mum.
I feel like a little song.
Mummy.
Hey, do we all cherry right? Eh? Come on. Cherry right, cherry right.
Mummy, Grandma, why don't we have one man went to mow? One man went to mow a meadow. One man and his dog went to mow a meadow. Two men went to mow, went to mow a meadow. Two men, one man and his dog went to mow a meadow. Would you like a sweetie?
No. 12. Isn't that peaceful? Now they're all asleep. Kids are bad enough, but your mother really wears me out.
Well, she's old.
She hasn't improved any with age, has she?
That'd be fair on her. She's very fond of you, you know.
She's got a funny way of showing it. That's not her waking up, is it?
No, she's still well away.
Thank heavens for that. We'll be off the motorway soon. Been into Cornwall and all those quiet country lanes and smashing little pubs.
Cream teas.
Your mother's stopped snoring.
Yes. Must be awful to grow old.
I am, and it is.
She does look funny.
Even worse than when she's awake.
You can't see her.
I can in the mirror. You better try and put her head back. Falling forward on her chest like that, she'll wake up with a crick. She'll be even more crabby.
Now just stop it, Sydney. Ow!
Now what's up?
Oh, I think my little ex has gone.
Is that all?
I can't quite reach her. Oh! Oh, it's sticking right in me. There, that's got her. Sydney. Sydney.
Now what?
I don't think she's well.
What you talking about?
I think she's gone.
Gone? Where? What are you talking about?
Grandma. I think she's passed on.
Do what? Passed out, you mean?
No! Look at her! Pull over, stop the car!
I'm not stopping the car. Wait, the kids.
No, Sydney, I mean... Grandma. I think she's... You know... D-E-D.
D-E-D?
Dead? Sydney, shh! You wake the children!
Have you gone stark raving bonkers? What do you mean saying things like that?
Just look at her!
Yes, well, she looks a bit... But she always looks dreadful.
But Sydney, her eyes are all open.
Oh, stop it, Sadie. She's drunk over a quarter bottle of brandy.
She feels, well, clammy.
Clammy?
Cold. Awful.
Oh, pull yourself together. Give her a shake. Go on. Wake her up, then you'll find out how awful she can
I
be.
can't, I'm frightened.
Don't be silly. Give her a good shake.
Oh, see, oh! It's in me again. I'll have to buy a new one. Mummy. Are you all right, Mummy? Oh!
What's up?
Her head. It's lolling about all over the place.
Well, don't let it wake the kids. Feel her pulse.
I can't find it.
It's in her wrist.
I know that. I mean, I can't find it. It's gone.
Well, try her heart. It's no use. She's never had one.
Oh, Sydney, I know it. She's gone. She must have had a seizure or something. Oh, this is no time to be blasphemous. She's my mother after all. Didn't we ought to see somebody?
Who? I mean at 4 in the morning. Who are we liable to see?
Doctor. Shouldn't we see a doctor?
It's a bit late for a doctor, isn't it?
But you have to report a loss, don't you?
How? Go on, tell me how. Middle of nowhere. Where am I going to find a doctor?
Yellow pages.
I haven't got that. I haven't got a file. Oh, never mind.
We'll have to do something.
Sadie, shut up.
Oh, Sydney.
I cannot think with you whittling on all the time. Now, please, keep quiet.
Sydney, what is it? What if the children wake up?
How do you mean?
Well, it's not right, is it? I mean, with Mummy like that.
She's not bothering them, is she?
That's not what I mean. What I mean is if they wake up and find her between them. Con, they're only children. It would be an awful shock.
Ah, yes. Difficult.
We'll have to move her.
Where? I'm having her next to me. I couldn't concentrate on the driving, not with her leering at me. It's bad enough when she's heckling from the back.
Oh, Sydney, you shouldn't speak ill.
I bet wherever she is now, she's giving a bad report on me. Anyway, I'm not having her in the front.
Well, she could sit on my lap.
Sadie, pull yourself together.
We've got to do something. What are you doing?
I am pulling up, Sadie.
But why?
Shh, now. Now get out as quietly as you can. I am going to take these suitcases off the roof rack, put them on the back seat, and put Grandma up there.
Oh, how could you? I've never heard of such a thing.
Can you think of something better? She's not going to worry, is she? And we're agreed we can't leave her where she is, and I'm not unpacking the boot again.
But what will people say?
Who are you going to tell?
People will notice. You can't just drive around with a... Well, with your mother on the roof rack.
Sadie, don't be silly. There is a tarpaulin over the cases, right? I shall wrap her in that.
The tarpaulin?
Don't worry, it won't come to any harm. Now, you must give me a hand.
Sydney.
If I pull the driving seat forward, we can get her out without disturbing the kids. Just don't think about it. Imagine it's a sack of potatoes or something.
I shall never speak to you again, Sydney Smith.
Good, because we must not disturb the children. Now then, I'll start by getting these cases down. This is the last time, Sadie. Never again.
It's not right, you know. I mean, up there like that. She could catch her death.
Oh, stop going on. There's a love.
But you know what I mean.
No, I don't. There's nothing we can do for her now. And she's probably more comfortable stretched out like that than cooped up in the back. I wish I'd thought of that when we set off in the first place.
Sydney, you are despicable.
I'm sorry, but we've got to make the best of it. We must try not to let it spoil the holiday.
There'll have to be a funeral.
Yes, but not right away. You're not thinking of cutting the holiday short, are you?
Well, of course we must.
But I know. We could have a quiet little do down in Mousehole or whatever it's called.
I shall not discuss this any further. Mummy is going to be seen off properly amongst her own friends. Why, they'd never forgive us. You know how they look forward to that sort of thing.
Yes. Well, how about if we arrange to have her shipped back in an ambulance or something? Or maybe a train, an away day or whatever. Then they could keep her on ice until we get home. I mean, there's the kids to think of. It's their holiday too.
I am not discussing it. I think it's illegal.
What is?
Carrying a departed person across county borders.
What are you talking about?
I've read it somewhere. Cross county borders.
That is in America, Sadie, and it only has to do with minors.
Dead minors.
Aston Villa! Young people, people underage.
Dead children.
Oh, Ecky, never mind. Just let me get on with the drive.
Well, you've got to report it. I know that. You've got to report a departure. You can't just go careering off around the country, carrying departed people all over the place. That's illegal. I know that.
You might be right.
I am.
Right.
What are you going to do?
Leave it to me. Just leave it to me. There. Over there.
What?
A light. A house. Maybe a farm. Somebody's up.
What are you going to do?
Report your mother. I shall go over there and use their phone.
Well, you're not leaving me behind. Not alone at this time of night in the middle of nowhere.
It'll soon be light. Well, never mind. Suit yourself.
And the children, we can't leave them here.
Then we'll all go. Wake them up. I'll be back in a moment.
Sophie. Sophie, wake up, love.
What is it, Mum? Are we there?
Not yet. And you, Stanley. Ow.
Oh, what's the matter, Mum?
Oh, nothing. It's all right. It's my little ex. Stanley, are you awake? Oh, I can't reach round there. Give him a shake, Sophie.
Stan. Oh, Mum says to wake up, Stan. Come on.
I'm all stiff.
What's
for a little walk with Daddy.
Oh, why? What for?
Don't whine, Stanley. We're going to make a phone call.
Well, can't you go by yourself?
No, we're not leaving you alone out here in the middle of nowhere. Heaven knows who might come along.
Well, nobody, Mum. Not in the middle of nowhere.
Stanley will do you no good at all if you try and be clever with me. You are both coming along.
Where's Grandma?
She's gone.
Well, where?
Well, she's gone before.
Well, couldn't she make the phone call by herself then?
I mean, she's no longer with us.
Where is she then, Mum?
Well, I hope she's in a better place.
But she was the one who wanted to go to Cornwall.
Oh, you obviously do not understand, Sophie. Perhaps your father will explain. In the meantime, we will all get out of the car and find your father.
Oh, is he gone too?
Just get out of the car!
I can't find a road anywhere. There's a track that seems to lead in the right direction.
Dad, where's Grandma?
Up on the roof rack. Now, I've got the torch, so we'll all keep together. Don't want anyone getting lost, do we? Off we go, then.
Why don't grown-ups ever give you an honest answer?
Well, who ever heard of people not having a phone in this day and age?
What do we do now?
We'll just have to get back in the car and drive. We must come to a village or something soon.
I'm hungry, Mum. Oh, so am I.
Right, I suggest we have breakfast now. Now then, Daddy, where's the car?
Here.
What do you mean?
Here.
Stop saying here, Sydney. Where is it?
It's gone.
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 What do you mean gone?
Gone! Not here! Vanished!
I don't understand you, Sydney. Where is it then?
I don't know, do I? I left it here.
Do you mean it's gone?
Yes, gone.
Oh, this can't be the place.
Sadie, this is the place, all right. There's the broken litter bin. There's the rusty bike. And there's the track we have just been down. No doubt about it.
But what about breakfast?
Bugger breakfast. What about Grandma?
Oh, Sydney.
You said Grandma had gone?
She has now.
But if she'd already gone... Well, where was she then?
Up on the roof rack.
Oh, Dad!
What are we going to do, Sydney?
Think. I've got to think. Things are not too bad. Everything in the car was insured.
Sydney.
Don't tell me you haven't paid the policy.
Think of Grandma.
I am doing. I can only think of household contents. I mean, you can't claim her under freezer breakdown, can you?
Sydney Smith, you are being deliberately hurtful. Once this holiday's over,
Sadie, my love, of course I am worried. But I cannot think while you are constantly having hysterics.
Dad, is up on the roof rack like Aston Villa?
What?
Well, you know, when you don't want us to hear you say, Jesus...
Stanley!
But you know what I mean. So, instead of saying that, he says Aston Villa. Well, he's up on the roof rack, the same sort of thing.
I don't know what you're blathering about.
What?
Now, we've no alternative but to walk to the nearest village. So, we'll put our best foot forward, single file. I'll go first, and Stanley can bring up the rear. Keep your eyes peeled for pirates, Stanley.
What's he talking about pirates for, Soph? Dunno. I think he's flipped, you know.
I see, sir. Not always a good thing to leave everything in the car, registration document, licence, etc.
Seem the safest place.
Not if you then proceed to lose the car.
Officer, I didn't intend to lose the car. I only left it to make a phone call.
Failing to lock the car door and leaving the key in the ignition.
I admit that I've been thoughtless.
Just so, sir. I feel that you must shoulder some considerable burden of the blame in that case. For every criminal act, there is often an act of equally criminal negligence.
You mean for every unmarried mother, there's an unmarried father?
Exactly, sir. The very point I'm trying to make.
Aston Villa. Are you going to bother to try and find it, then?
The wheels of justice have already been set in motion. You may have noticed me pass a slip of paper to the young lad in the next office. Within moments, every station in the county had been notified and every officer alerted to the crime. First of the day, by the way. Which means that there is a very good chance of having your car spotted before their notebooks get clogged with details of missing cats, runaway horses, and stolen grandmothers.
Stolen grandmothers?
Sir?
Nothing. No, nothing at all. What made you say that?
What?
Stolen grandmothers.
A turn of phrases, you might say. Now, don't tell me you want to report a stolen grandmother as well.
No, goodness me, no.
Are you all right, sir? I mean, you look a little pale.
I'm fine, really. I mean, I've been up all night, driving, you know, and then the car. It's all been a strain.
Of course, sir, I have been remiss chatting like this. Why don't you rejoin your wife and family next door, and I'll see to it that you get a nice hot cup of tea.
You should have told him.
Told him? Oh, yes. Excuse me, officer. I want to report a stolen car. The usual sort of thing. Contents your average holiday gear for a family of 4. About 20 suitcases. No, that's all. Oh, I nearly forgot. Silly me. On the roof rack, wrapped in a tarpaulin.
Please, part of our liaison.
Hey?
The children, dearest. Remember the children.
News, Mr. Smith. We have recovered your car.
Oh, how wonderful.
That was quick.
Yes, sir. I would permit myself some small glow of satisfaction at such a speedy solution were it not for one or two qualifying circumstances.
Circumstances?
Circumstances, Mr. Smith. It appears that 2 young lads, recovering from a night on the spree and finding themselves many miles from home, took the liberty of borrowing your car in order to facilitate their journey. They repented of their folly, having made an investigation of the contents of the car and of the roof rack.
Ah, the roof rack.
Precisely. The roof rack, sir. The 2 young lads in question gave themselves up to the nearest police station in a state of some considerable agitation, not to say sheer bloody panic.
Oh, Sidney.
Aston Villa.
I will arrange transport for you all to the hospital in Bodmin.
Hospital?
That's right, hospital. The East Cornwall Hospital, to be precise. However, before that, I would like to inquire into 1 or 2 seeming gaps in your memory, Mr. Smith. It seems to me that you have some explaining to do.
Insulin coma?
That's correct, Mr. Smith. Your mother's been a very lucky woman.
But we thought she was... Well, you know...
Yes, to the inexperienced person, a patient suffering from such a condition, having lapsed into a coma, would betray symptoms similar to those of a state of death.
But we never had any idea she was ill, even.
I have talked to her own doctor. It appears she's not been feeling too well over these past few weeks, but there didn't seem to be any reason to be too concerned.
She never said...
Your mother's also a very brave lady. She didn't want to worry you unnecessarily. Some elderly folk would rather risk jeopardizing their own health than cause concern to those nearest and dearest to them.
Doesn't sound like your mother.
Now, Sidney, I've always said you never really understood her.
I must also add to her qualities the fact that she's an extremely tough old bird, if you'll pardon the phrase.
There, I have to agree with you.
In view of the somewhat unusual course of action you took. Well, I won't dwell upon that. Anyway, there's no reason why she should not be with you for many years yet.
Great.
She'd like to see you, but she's very weak and considerably shaken, so only a brief word. And by the way, I have not told her of the circumstances of her arrival here. If you follow me.
I don't understand the most of it, Sidney. I only know I've put you to a lot of trouble.
You don't worry your head about that,
Oh, but I do, Sadie. I've often misjudged Sidney in the past. And now, when I realise what he's done for me...
Don't talk about it, Grandma.
But I won't forget it. How you found those lads and persuaded them to rush me to the hospital while you went off to phone the police. And then you left yourself with no car and miles to walk to the nearest village. Well...
Please, don't say any more.
Well, I won't. But I won't forget.
Neither shall I.
Now, they're going to keep me in here for a while, but you must promise me that you won't let that spoil your holiday. You just go off and try and have a good time, even though I won't be with you. Can you manage that?
Oh, Mummy.
We'll try, Grandma. It won't be easy, but we'll try.
Can we have the radio on, Dad?
Why not? A bit of music to brighten up the day.
Radio 1.
Don't push your luck, Sophie. Radio 2. Oh, this is the life, eh? The open road. Any minute now, a lovely old country pub, pints and pasties.
Cream tea.
And above all, the knowledge that Grandma is in the best possible hands. Somebody else's. Oh, you can't chop your mother up in Massachusetts.
No, you can't stop your mother up in Massachusetts.